Host, Suchingli Time Travel Countdown, 16 hours, 45 minutes, 23 seconds. This was absolutely absurd. When she opened her eyes that morning, these 3 lines appeared right in front of Suchingli. A 3-meter-high, 100-square-meter space had also materialized inside her mind. She had tested the space. It could keep food fresh. As an avid novel reader, seeing the prompt before her, Suchingli immediately understood. She had been selected by a system to travel back in time to the 1970s. Yet the system bound to her seemed to be a silent one. She had asked countless questions and got no reply at all. Staring at the countdown, Suchingli decided not to waste time on the system. She needed to stockpile supplies right away. Time was running out. Otherwise, she would end up with nothing after the time travel. She opened her phone and checked her bank card balance, 99,546 yuan. Adding the money in her WeChat wallet, she had a total of 100,000 yuan. This was what she had saved over 3 years of working. As a young doctor with only a few years on the job, saving 100,000 yuan in 3 years was quite an achievement. After all, she had rent, meals, clothing, cosmetics, and other daily expenses to cover. Suchingli rented a small delivery truck online, arranging to meet the driver in half an hour. She then took paper and a pen out of a drawer and began writing a supply list. In the 1970s, nearly everything was scarce. Rice, flour, oil, grains, eggs, meat, all kinds of medicine, toiletries, sanitary pads, paper goods. She needed them all. She had no idea whether she would land in a rural village or a city, so she would stock up on everything just in case. Suchingli filled an entire page with notes. Next, she pulled up the pharmaceutical representative from her hospital on WeChat and sent over her list of required medicines, telling him to rush the order for delivery that same afternoon. The representative assured her he could manage it. It was almost time to meet the truck driver. Suchingli got dressed and headed outside. The truck driver had already arrived. Deposit and rental fees had been paid online. Suchingli took the keys and drove straight for the food market. She had originally planned to go to the grain wholesale market first, but if she skipped the food market, all the pork would be snapped up by elderly shoppers who arrived early. Her decision proved wise. Hardly anyone was at the market yet, and the pork vendor had not even opened for business. Walking up to the stall, Suchingli waved her hand. "Uncle, I'll take all your meat." The old vendor looked surprised. "What, are you throwing a big feast for your family?" "Yes, my cousin is getting married." Suchingli made up an excuse on the spot. Moving from one meat stall to the next, Suchingli bought meat from 5 pigs, 2 sheep, 200 jin of beef, 50 jin of beef bones, 20 old hens, and 3,000 yuan worth of free-range eggs. She also got several crates of safe-to-eat raw consumption eggs. 5 crates of salted duck eggs went into her purchases as well. She also bought some pork offal, pork hearts, pork livers, pork kidneys, and pork intestines. She purchased 50 large carp and a big basin holding some 40-odd small crucian carp. When it came to vegetables, while meat and grain were scarce in the 1970s, vegetables were generally available. She did not intend to buy large quantities, just 10 jin of each common daily vegetable for reserves. Sweet potatoes and honey-sweet small sweet potatoes, however, were worth stocking up on. Roasted sweet potatoes tasted wonderful in winter. Suchingli bought 200 jin of honey-sweet sweet potatoes. Leaving the food market, she headed for the adjacent fruit wholesale market. 10 crates of apples, 10 crates of pears, 5 crates of Kyoho grapes, 2 crates each of cherries, mangosteens, and crab apples. 10 crates of dried red jujubes too. Lastly, watermelons, her favorite fruit, 50 of them. She was also very fond of tangerines and manga pears, but those fruits grew in winter and were out of season in summer. What a pity. Fruits, vegetables, meat, eggs all taken care of. Next stop, grain. Suchingli drove to the grain wholesale market. 125 kilogram sacks each of rice and wheat flour, 50 10-kilogram sacks of millet, 500 jin each of buckwheat flour and cornmeal, 200 jin each of glutinous rice flour and yellow millet flour, 50 jin each of round glutinous rice and long grain glutinous rice, plus 50 jin of yellow millet. Glutinous rice flour and yellow millet flour could be used for sticky bean buns and fried cakes, round glutinous rice and yellow millet for cold sweet cakes, osmanthus-flavored cold cakes. 100 jin each of red beans and mixed 8 treasure grain rice. Shopkeeper, load these onto my truck. Since she had rented a small delivery truck, she had to make 2 trips to get all the grain loaded into her space. Finished with grain, She went to the oil and non-staple food wholesale market across the street. 50 10-liter barrels of rapeseed oil, 50 gin each of coarse salt, brown sugar, white sugar, and rock sugar. 10 crates each of soy sauce, vinegar, dark soy sauce, and Pichian bean paste. She also bought spices, cumin, chili powder, fermented black beans, white sesame seeds, black sesame seeds, Sichuan pepper, numbing pepper, bay leaves, cinnamon bark, and more. 5 large crates of dried noodles and pickled mustard tubers as well. Each crate of soy sauce, vinegar, and dark soy sauce held 12 bottles. Each crate of Pichian bean paste held 6 cans. Since she would travel to the 1970s, not the end of the world apocalypse, such seasonings could be acquired there. She only needed enough for several years and would spend her remaining money on other critical supplies. Sanitary pads, for instance. Su Qingli went to her usual specialty store and spent 10,000 yuan on them. She also bought paper goods and underwear. She had heard that nearly everything required ration tickets in the 1970s. Afraid of lacking quilts and warm clothes, she visited a shop that made hand-stitched cotton quilts. She ordered 2 double-bed quilts and mattress sets, plus 2 single-bed ones, with quilt covers in period-appropriate colors. She also bought 200 jean of cotton from the shop owner as a backup, in case cotton became hard to get after time travel. Iron pots were another necessity. At the general store next door, she bought 2 large iron woks, 2 kitchen cleavers, an iron griddle, a clay casserole, an old-style aluminum kettle, and a clay stove. The cotton quilts needed to be custom-made. She arranged to pick them up at 6 that evening. Pulling out her checklist, Su Qingli reviewed her purchases: fruits, vegetables, grain, oil, seasonings, meat, eggs, cotton quilts, iron cookware, sanitary pads, and paper goods. Everything except medicine was basically ready. All that remained were toiletries and skincare products. Su Qingli normally bought expensive skincare goods online. Though local stores carried her preferred brands, she was running low on funds and could not afford them. She would settle for moderately priced alternatives. She visited a beauty supply shop and bought 20 sets of mid-range skincare product bundles, mainly toner, moisturizer, and face cream, plus 20 boxes of facial masks. She skipped lipsticks. Vintage vanishing cream jars were worth stocking, so she bought 50 cans. She also purchased 5 crates each of laundry soap and facial wash soap, 20 bars per crate. That ought to suffice. When Su Qingli walked out of the supermarket, it was already noon. She was starving. She had woken at 5 that morning and had not eaten a single bite since. She found a steamed bun restaurant, ordered a steamer of small steamed buns and a cup of soybean milk for lunch. Right after finishing her meal, the pharmaceutical representative messaged her to pick up her order. 10 crates of common and specialized medications cost her more than 10,000 yuan. Only 2,000 yuan remained in her bank account. Su Qingli planned to buy coal, which would bring her balance down to 400 yuan. Glancing at her bank account balance, Su Qingli sighed. 100,000 yuan, saved over 3 long years, gone in half a day. She checked the countdown. 8 hours remained. Apart from the quilts, all supplies were prepared. She decided to head home and pack her personal belongings. Su Qingli returned to her rental apartment, a 50-square-meter small flat that suited her perfectly for living alone. Her parents had died in a car accident when she was in the 2nd year of junior high. Raised by her grandparents, she had lost both of them while she was in college. She had no close family left in this world. Frowning, Su Qingli wondered, had she been selected for time travel precisely because she had no ties to hold her back? Is that so, system? She thought inwardly. No reply came. Silent system, she muttered. She packed from bedroom to living room. Bed sheets, duvets, her lazy sofa, every item she had paid for, even trash cans went into her storage space. When she reached the kitchen, she spotted chopped meat filling she had prepared the day before, braised sauce meat filling for steamed buns. With several hours left before time travel, Su Qingli decided to steam buns and steamed bread to store in her space, using the ready-made filling. From reading countless novels, she knew time travelers often had no chance to cook right after arriving in the new era. Pre-made buns and steamed bread would keep her from going hungry. She set to work at once. From afternoon until shortly before 6 o'clock, Su Qingli cooked non-stop in her apartment. She steamed 5 steamer trays of large braised sauce meat buns and 5 steamer trays of sweet red bean-filled steamed bread. Once the buns and bread were done, she tidied the whole apartment and stored everything that could go into her space. Then she went to collect her custom cotton quilts. The hand-stitched quilts were thick. Each double-bed quilt weighed 10 jin, warm enough even for the frigid winters of northeast China. "Here, girl, I'll throw in a few balls of yarn for you," the shop owner said. "Thank you, auntie." As she left, the shop owner gave her 3 yarn balls. Su Qingli already owned a whole large box of cashmere yarn in red, blue, green, and many other colors bought long before for knitting scarves, yet never used. 2 hours remained until time travel. Su Qingli returned the rental truck. 400 plus yuan was still in her bank account, and she wanted to spend it all. At the Community Gate supermarket, she bought 10 bags of old brand milk powder and some snacks, then headed back home. She took a shower, lay down on her bed, and waited for the time travel only to fall asleep while watching the countdown. October 15, 1973. Gu Chonglin. The second character is pronounced Chong, not Zhang. "Sister-in-law Chonglin, are you heading into town to buy something?" Su Qingli stared at the familiar yet unfamiliar face before her, feeling dazed. Chonglin. Gu Chonglin. She had transmigrated into a book. She had become the long-deceased White Moonlight ex-wife of the great villain Gu Changlin, the utterly minor cannon fodder supporting character Su Qingli. She never even appeared in the main story. Gu Changlin only mentioned her during his interrogation at the very end of the novel. Having read the whole book and knowing the full plot, Su Qingli felt a headache coming on. No one was born evil, people were shaped by their circumstances and family backgrounds. Naturally, the great villain Gu Changlin was no exception. In his youth, Gu Changlin had been a soldier who defended his country. His descent into darkness began with her the original host body. That spring, Gu Changlin had returned home on leave. He had saved the original host after she fell into a lake. They met, and with matchmaking from others, they got married. Yet on their wedding day, Gu Changlin was urgently recalled to duty. They had not even shared a wedding night. By that winter, he had been honorably discharged with severe injuries. His legs were damaged beyond repair, and he could only move around in a wheelchair. Gu Changlin was 22, the eldest child in his family. He had 2 young siblings, 10-year-old younger brother Gu Changxin and 4-year-old younger sister Gu Changwei. Their parents had passed away 4 years prior. Their father had drowned in a mountain flood that same year. Their mother had died giving birth to Gu Changwei. After their parents' deaths, Gu Changlin sent his monthly military allowance to his uncle's household, who looked after the 2 younger children. Now that Gu Changlin was married, household responsibilities fell naturally to the original host. But Gu Chonglin's wounded discharge meant the end of his 20-odd yuan monthly military allowance. He needed medicine and constant care while confined to his wheelchair. The household now had only 2 adults. With Gu Changlin disabled, every burden pressed down on the young original host, who was merely 19 years old. She was overwhelmed, but with help from Gu Chonglin's uncle's family, they scraped through hard days. In 1976, 1 year before the college entrance exam restoration, the original host passed the exam and became a doctor at the county hospital. She bought a small courtyard in town, planning for the whole family herself, Gu Changlin, Gu Changxin, and Gu Changyue to move there. It would make her commute to work easier and give Gu Changxin a better school. Life was finally improving. Yet one night, on her way home, several hooligans from a neighboring village targeted her. When their bad intentions failed, they beat her to death with stones and buried her body. Since the original host was an educated youth sent down from the city, villagers gossiped that she must have run away back to the city, unable to bear the hardship of her family. But Gu Changlin and his siblings refused to believe it. The original host had chosen to sit for the college exam rather than flee, so why would she abandon them now? They suspected misfortune. Months later, they found the murderers. They had intended to report the crime, but the culprits taunted and provoked them. In a fit of rage, Gu Changlin and Gu Changxin killed the men. There were no surveillance cameras back then, and the victims were local troublemakers who often vanished without notice. No official investigation followed. Later, the 3 siblings moved to the county seat. Because of Gu Chonglin's disability, they faced constant bullying. Men even tried to harm young Gu Changwei. In fights to defend themselves, they crossed paths with local underworld connections. After university, Gu Changxin married the daughter of a major underworld leader. Thus the 3 Gu siblings slid fully into criminal life. Though both younger siblings graduated from university and held respectable-looking jobs, behind closed doors they engaged in violence and illegal trafficking. They became the novel's most powerful criminal syndicate, the main villains. At the finale, all 3 were sentenced to death. Before dying, they mourned the original host. Gu Chonglin blamed himself, convinced that he had ruined her life. To them, the original host was pure, irreplaceable. After all, most people would have fled such a difficult family, but she had stayed, even though she and Gu Chonglin barely had any romantic bond. As a reader, Su Qingli had accepted the plot. Now, trapped inside the original host's body, she faced the reality. A disabled husband, 2 young dependent siblings, and 3 future major villains. Su Qingli's heart sank. What a terrible start. Could she run away? Ding. Host, I'm back. A mechanical voice suddenly echoed in Su Qingli's ears. The silent system? Oh, so you can talk. Why did you ignore me before? What kind of system are you? Su Qingli thought rapidly. Host, I was undergoing an upgrade and could not respond. I am a check-in system. Daily check-ins reward 10 RMB. Every full month of check-ins grants 1 lottery draw. Prizes cover many categories: skill cards, spiritual spring water, height increase pills, whitening pills, longevity pills, and more. Hold on. Is that all just daily check-ins? No mandatory missions. If she only needed to check in for money, that would be excellent. Missions will be assigned. Initial mission releasing now. Ultimate mission: within 10 years, reform Gu Chonglin, Gu Chongxin, and Gu Changwei. Guide them onto lawful, upright paths, eliminating the future criminal threat at its source. Mission completion reward: 100 buildings for the host. 100 buildings? Did I hear you right, system? Su Qingli was utterly stunned. That is correct. Completion of the mission grants 100 buildings as payment. 100 buildings. 100 buildings. 100 buildings. Su Qingli could picture a life of easy wealth as a landlady stretching out before her. Reform the villains? She could do it. Nothing bad had happened yet. She was alive, and everything could still be changed. She put on a solemn inner tone. Ahem. System, the buildings are beside the point. Reforming these people and guiding them toward good is doing right by society's civic duty of mine. Rest assured, I will complete this mission. Just make sure those 100 buildings are ready when I finish. 10 years from now, she would be 20-old retirement, and easy living awaited her. What wonderful luck. For someone who had once dreamed of property ownership, this was amazing. Understood, host. Distributing new user gift. 1 free lottery draw. A lottery will resembling an online shopping site prize will appear before Su Qingli. She pressed the center button. The wheel spun for 3 seconds and halted. The prize was revealed. Great luck, host. You have drawn the Superhuman Strength skill card. Superhuman Strength skill card grants immense physical power, enough to overpower troublesome troublemakers. Permanent effect upon activation. Su Qingli was delighted. Great strength would help with chores, manual labor, and fights, which mattered a great deal in rural village life. Sister-in-law Chonglin, I've been talking to you. Can you hear me? Wang Hohat, the village chief's wife, waved a hand in front of Su Qingli's eyes. She wondered whether the young woman had gone deaf. She had asked several questions, yet Su Qingli just stared blankly straight ahead at nothing. Auntie. Winter is coming soon. I'm going to buy cloth and cotton to make winter coats and trousers for Chongxin and Chongwei. Su Qingli snapped back to reality and smiled. Her excuse aligned with what the real original host had intended to do. A sour-sounding voice spoke behind her. How nice to have a soldier husband. 20-odd yuan in military allowance every month, plus cloth and cotton ration tickets whenever you need them. Su Qingli turned around. The speaker was a young woman in a yellow-toned blouse with twin braids, Tang Wanru, another educated youth sent down to the countryside that same spring. From their very first day in the village, Tang Wanru had disliked the original host and often mocked her. In fact, Tang Wanru had even had a hand in pushing the original host into marrying Gu Chonglin. It was she who had quarreled with the original host and pushed her into the lake. Gu Chonglin fished the original host out, yet stood by fanning the flames among several elderly women, spreading gossip that the original host had been touched and held by others. As a young girl, the original host had never encountered such a scene and could not hold her own. What was more, Gu Chonglin was good-looking and received an allowance of more than 20 yuan each month. On top of that, marrying him meant she would not have to work in the fields. She thought marrying him might not be such a bad idea, and so the original host made up her mind and wed him. Little did she know what lay ahead. Su Qingli smoothed a strand of hair from her forehead and spoke. That's right. Why doesn't educated youth Tang find herself a soldier to marry too? Then you won't have to envy others. Envy? Do you really think I envy you? How could I ever envy you? Tang Wanru sneered. Su Qingli lifted her eyes, offering neither confirmation nor denial. If she was not envious, why did she sound so sour? At that moment, Wang Hohot stepped in to smooth things over. Dear me, look at the two of you, snapping at each other after just a few words. She took Su Qingli's hand and asked warmly, Qingli, do you have any extra cotton tickets? If you do, could you spare some for your auntie? I won't take them for nothing. Were there any extra ones? There might not have been in the past, but there definitely were now. Su Qingli had 200 jean of cotton stored in her spatial space. Still, Su Qingli did not give an immediate reply. Auntie, wait till I get back from my trip to the county seat. I'll let you know if I have any to spare. Wang Hohot was no stranger. They were distantly related. Gu Changlin's eldest uncle's second cousin-in-law, that is, his second cousin's wife, was Aunt Hohot's daughter. All right. Wang Hohot thought to herself, how much cotton could Chongson and Changwei possibly need to make clothes? 3 jean at most. Gu Chonglin sent money and tickets every month, so their household surely had more than just 3 jean worth of cotton tickets. Su Qingli chatted amicably with Wang Hohot. Tang Wanru stared at Su Qingli's back, the corners of her mouth curving upward as she murmured softly, Su Qingli, your days of triumph won't last long. Su Qingli did not hear those words. For at that very second, she witnessed something utterly shocking. Right before her eyes, Aunt Hohot grabbed a louse from her hair and bit it to death in her mouth. Bit it to death. Su Qingli's eyes widened in shock. Losing her balance, she tumbled off the ox-drawn cart. Oh my goodness. How did you fall? Are you hurt? Wang Hohot quickly jumped down to help her up. The ox cart was moving slowly. Other than a sore bottom, Su Qingli was unharmed. She scrambled to her feet and said she was fine. You girl, you have to sit still. Old Man Lu, who drove the cart, brought it to a halt. Climb back up. Sit tight, Old Man Lu and Aunt Hohot both urged. My feet have gone numb. I'll walk for a while, Su Qingli waved them off. Su Qingli was inwardly distraught. She had read countless novels set in this era covering all sorts of plot lines, yet none had ever mentioned that lice in people's hair were commonplace back then. And lice were contagious. She had been sitting close, chatting face-to-face with Aunt Hohot for quite some time. Those lice must have jumped into her own hair. At the thought of tiny bugs crawling around in her hair, Su Qingli broke out in goosebumps all over. Terrible, just terrible. Host, rest assured. There are no lice on your hair or body. I have just scanned. No foreign organisms are present on you. The system spoke up. Really? Relief washed over Su Qingli at the system's words. The original host had kept herself clean, so lice should not have been an issue for her. Still, personal cleanliness alone offered no guarantee. One could pick them up just by sleeping in someone else's bed. She wondered whether the 2 children at home had them. Gu Chongson and Gu Changwei often visited Great-Uncle Gu's house. That household was crowded with many children, and sanitation was poor. In fact, nearly every family in this time struggled with lice. Su Qingli made a mental note to check once she got home. Whatever the situation elsewhere, lice would not be tolerated under her roof. If any turned up, she would get rid of them without hesitation. She could not stand those pests. The trip from their production brigade to the county seat took more than 2 hours. Not wanting to walk the whole way, Su Qingli climbed back onto the ox cart after walking for a short distance. This time, however, she kept her distance and avoided sitting close enough for head-to-head conversation with Aunt Hohot. They had set off early and reached the county seat at 8 o'clock. After climbing down from the cart, Su Qingli counted her cash and coupons. The original host had brought along 5 Great Unity banknotes, 8 cloth tickets, and 5 cotton tickets. More were kept at home, some the original host had brought when she went to the countryside, others sent back by Gu Chonglin. She headed for the supply and marketing cooperative. Though she held memories of what it looked like from the original host, seeing it in person still felt novel. She did not linger to sightsee. After a quick glance around, she pulled out her money and coupons to buy fabric for the children's new clothes. For her sister-in-law Gu Changwei, she picked cloth patterned with red flowers. The little girl would look lovely in a red cotton jacket for the Lunar New Year. For her brother-in-law Gu Chongson, she chose dark blue cloth. Recalling that toothpaste at home was nearly gone, she bought 2 tubes of toothpaste and 2 toothbrushes. The novel never specified exactly when the villainous eldest brother would return, only that it would be in the winter. It was already mid-9th lunar month, so it should be soon, probably within 1 or 2 months. She needed to smuggle supplies out of her spatial space little by little before he arrived. There were 2 new quilts and mattress covers at home, each weighing 5 jin. They had been made for the original host and Gu Changlin's wedding and had hardly been used, carefully stored away. Gu Changsun and Gu Changwen slept under old quilts that were several years worn thin. Once home, she planned to give the 2 new quilts to the children and repurpose the old ones as mattress padding underneath. Her own worn quilt also needed replacing. She wanted to bring out her large double-sized quilt for herself. Since she had prepared it before crossing over, she ought to make use of it. Still, Gu Changsun was already 10 years old. She would need a believable excuse to account for the oversized quilt, otherwise the sharp-witted boy would surely grow suspicious. Among the 3 siblings, Gu Changsun was the brightest, most cunning, and ruthless. He was also the best-looking. That explained why the daughter of a crime syndicate boss had fallen head over heels for him. She had loved him so deeply that when he was executed, she took her own life, leaving behind 2 grown children. True devotion indeed. Su Qingli thought it over. She would say the quilt had been mailed to her by relatives back in her hometown. The original host's hometown was in Sichuan province. Her household included her father, a stepmother, a stepsister from the stepmother's previous marriage, and a younger brother born to her father and stepmother, 5 people in all. As the old saying went, once a man took a new wife, he often turned cold toward his children from his first marriage. That held true for the original host's family. Her birth mother had passed away when she was 15, and her father remarried that same year. For years had passed since then. Life had not been outright miserable for the original host, yet it had hardly been comfortable. Her stepmother had tricked her into going to the countryside. Before that, she had studied medicine under an elderly doctor for 2 years or so and had planned to sit an examination to work in a hospital. While she was not quite qualified to be a doctor yet, she could easily have worked as a nurse. Right before her exam, her stepmother had signed her up for rural re-education. Her family had given her only 50 yuan upon departure. But the original host was not one to be bullied. Before leaving, she had found the hidden savings her stepmother had stashed away and taken more than 300 yuan worth of cash and various coupons with her to the countryside. She reasoned that it would be a long time before she could return, and they would never travel all the way from Sichuan to Heilongjiang to chase her for it. She had never told her family about marrying Gu Changlin, and the Gu family knew very little about her background. This suited Su Qingli perfectly. She could make use of that lack of information. System, can you help me repackage my double-sized quilt so it looks like something delivered by post? Su Qingli regretted not having prepared period-appropriate parcels before her transmigration. No problem, host. The system agreed readily. I love you, system. Along with the repackaged double quilt, Su Qingli took 4 jin of cotton out of her spatial space. 3 jin would suffice for making winter clothes for the 2 children, so the extra jin would be set aside for other possible needs. Carrying 2 large parcels, she walked back to where the ox carts were parked. Only Old Man Lu was there. The others had not yet returned. You're back quite early. We will have to wait a while before heading back, Old Man Lu said. Su Qingli nodded. She had finished her shopping and would check what else was needed once she got home. Bored while waiting, she chatted casually with Old Man Lu and opened her system interface. There were 3 tabs: Daily Check-in, Personal Profile, and Missions. The check-in page resembled a calendar. Realizing she had not checked in for the day, she tapped it at once. Ding! Daily check-in successful. You have received 10 yuan. 10 yuan was added to her balance, displayed at the top of the page. Beside it was a grayed-out withdrawal button. Su Qingli frowned. System, how do I withdraw the money I earned from check-ins? Host, you may withdraw once your balance reaches 100 yuan. Got it. Su Qingli did the mental math. 10 yuan a day added up to 300 a month, 3,600 a year. That was quite good. With 300 yuan coming in monthly, she would not need to resort to the black market for money. She opened her personal profile and read her stats. Host, Su Qingli age, 19 height, 168 centimeters weight, 100 gene appearance, excellent skill, superhuman strength affinity, 0. Su Qingli touched her face. Her features closely resembled the original host's, though the original host had been even more beautiful, with willow leaf eyebrows, almond-shaped eyes, and an oval face, a classic beauty. Next, she opened the missions panel. Only one mission was listed, issued that morning. It was an ultimate rank mission with a 10-year time limit. System, most people get small missions at first. Why give me an ultimate rank one straight away? To keep you motivated, of course. 100 apartment buildings. Wouldn't you love to be a landlady host? Su Qingli could find no counterargument. That certainly sounds wonderful. Around 11 o'clock, the others began to return. 3 people had set out that morning: Su Qingli, Tang Wanru, and Aunt Hohot. 2 more male-educated youth had joined them, Zhou Yang and Qin Jiang. Su Qingli barely knew them, having stayed only 3 days at the educated youth compound. Once aboard the cart, Qin Jiang kept glancing in her direction, seemingly on purpose. Su Qingli knitted her brows. Why was he staring? They hardly knew each other. Watching Qin Jiang's gaze, Tang Wanru ground her teeth and cursed Su Qingli inwardly for her bewitching looks that drew men's eyes. Ignoring him, Su Qingli turned and struck up conversation with Aunt Hohot instead. They arrived back at the production brigade past 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The trip to the county seat had taken up half the day. Qingli, I'll come over to your place later to get those cotton tickets, Aunt Hohot said before parting. All right, Su Qingli replied. Her house was empty when she got home. Gu Changson attended 5th grade at a neighboring village school and would not return until evening. Gu Changwe had been left at Great-Uncle Gu's home while Su Qingli went to the county seat. Su Qingli carried her 2 parcels into her east wing bedroom. It was a small room with a large brick kong bed that could sleep 3, plus 2 wooden wardrobes newly built for her wedding to Gu Changlin. There was also a wash basin, towels, toothbrush, and toothpaste, along with rice jars, flour jars, and an egg basket. Opening the wardrobe, she found the original host's clothes and shoes, a jar of vanishing cream, and a can of malted milk extract. The vanishing cream was still half full, yet the malted milk extract was nearly gone. Gu Changlin had bought the expensive malted milk extract for the original host before their marriage. At 40 yuan a can, it cost more than milk powder and was a true luxury. The original host, Gu Changson and Gu Changwe, would eat it dry, and the 15th of every month was their special day for it. Su Qingli was impressed they had stretched one can across more than half a year. She fetched a bowl, broke apart the hardened lumps, and popped a piece into her mouth. It tasted of milk and malt. It was fine enough, nothing extraordinary. Having tasted far richer foods in her past life, her palate was spoiled. She wiped out the empty can thoroughly and refilled it with milk powder from her spatial storage. From now on, the household would drink milk powder. She took out 10 gin of brown sugar, 10 gin of white sugar, 5 gin of rock sugar, 10 apples, 10 pears, and 5 packs of dried noodles, locking them away in the wardrobe alongside the milk powder. Her excuse would be that relatives from her hometown had mailed all these supplies. Thinking ahead, she added 2 bars of laundry soap, 2 bars of facial soap, and 2 bars of shampoo soap, locking them safely away too. Only 3 eggs remained in the egg basket. She set those aside and added more than 20 fresh eggs from her spatial space. The old 3 would be boiled for breakfast the next morning. Mixing them with new ones would cause them to spoil quickly. Checking the rice and flour jars, only small amounts of white rice and wheat flour were left. Most families survived on cornmeal in this era. White rice and fine wheat flour were luxuries eaten only on rare occasions, even in households like hers. Su Qingli poured out the remaining rice, emptied a sack of white rice from her spatial space into the jar, and placed the old rice on top. She did the same with the wheat flour jar. Plenty of cornmeal remained, so she would add more only once it ran low. Beside them sat an empty small earthen jar once used for pickles. It was clean, so she poured a sack of millet into it. From then on, the family would eat mixed grain rice and drink millet congee. Stepping out of her bedroom, she entered the kitchen. A large brick stove held an iron wok. The wooden cupboard contained bowls, plates, chopsticks, oil crocks, salt jars, soy sauce, and vinegar. Salt supplies were abundant, but cooking oil was nearly gone, and both soy sauce and vinegar were down to their dregs. The original host had always added a splash of soy sauce and vinegar while cooking to improve flavor. Su Qingli topped up the oil crock with rapeseed oil, cleaned and refilled the soy sauce and vinegar bottles. She also poured broad bean chili paste into an empty jar. It made excellent seasoning for stir-fries. This, too, would be attributed to care packages from her hometown. Condiments such as oyster sauce, dark soy sauce, black pepper, and white pepper would be brought out little by little when opportunities arose. Her bedroom was the east wing. Gu Changson and Gu Changwei slept in the west wing room. She stepped inside. Its layout was similar, though its kong bed was larger, big enough for 5 or 6 people. Wardrobes sat upon the king rather than on the floor. Also in the room were a large pendulum clock, a flower, decorated mirror, and a dining table. Clearly this had once belonged to the children's late parents. Climbing onto the kang, she opened the wardrobe. It held the worn clothing of Gu Chongsun, Gu Changwei, and Gu Chonglin. Su Qingli had a clear plan. Returning to her own room, she opened her parcel. To the 4 jean of cotton she had already taken out, she added another 3 jean, bringing the total to 7 jean, enough to make 2 sets of winter clothes for the children. She gathered the fabric and cotton and headed for Great Uncle Gu's house. The original host knew how to sew, though she was skilled mostly at summer clothes and dresses, not thick winter garments. As for Su Qingli herself, she could barely knit scarves and nothing else. Besides, the household owned no sewing machine. She would ask Great Aunt Gu to sew them and would compensate her for the work. She brought along half a jean of brown sugar and a pack of dried noodles, rare and precious goods for the times. Great Uncle Gu's house sat directly behind hers, a 2-minute walk away. The couple had 5 grown children, 2 daughters and 3 sons, all married. Eldest cousin Gu Jiangwo and his wife Zhao had 3 children, 16-year-old daughter Gu Pan'er, 14-year-old son Gu Qingshan, and 11-year-old son Gu Qingyun. Pan'er had left school after junior high. Qingshan attended middle school in the county seat, while Qingyun studied at the neighboring village primary school. Second cousin Gu Jianya and his wife Sun Ping also had 3 children, 10-year-old twin sons Gu Chuyi and Gu Shiwu, and 4-year-old daughter Gu Yu. Gu Yu was only 2 months older than Gu Changwei. Gu Changwei had been breastfed by second cousin-in-law Sun Ping as an infant, so she was especially close to her. Third cousin Gu Jianqing and his wife Qin Shuao had one 5-year-old daughter, Gu Tingting. Like Su Qingli, third cousin-in-law Qin Shuao was an educated youth sent down to the countryside, though she had arrived 6 or 7 years earlier. In the novel, the third branch of the family fared best. After the college entrance examination was reinstated, Qin Shuao passed and was admitted to a university in the capital. She bought a home there and brought her husband and daughter to join her. Gu Jianqing had a good head for business and made a comfortable living for their whole family. When Su Qingli stepped into the courtyard, 3 small children squatted playing on the ground, Gu Changwei, Gu from the second branch, and Gu Tingting from the third. It was early October in the solar calendar. Most adults were out working the fields for the autumn harvest. Those children old enough for school were in class, while others helped out in the farmlands. "Sister-in-law, you're back." At the sight of her, Gu Changwei ran toward her. "Slow down, don't rush." Su Qingli lifted her up and brushed dirt off her face. The little girl was tanned, her hair coarse and dull, and her frame thin and delicate. Such was the plight of children in that era. Good nutrition was hard to come by, and Gu Changwei had only been breastfed for 6 months. Aunt 4, Gu Yu, and Gu Tingting called out. Although Gu Chonglin was the younger brother of Great Uncle Gu, he ranked 4th among the male cousins of the Gu clan, so the children addressed the couple as 4th uncle and 4th aunt. "Qingli, you've returned from the county seat?" "Great." Aunt Gu stepped out of the house. "I have, Auntie." Su Qingli set Gu Changwei down and pressed a handful of rock sugar into her hand. "Go share these with the others." "What have you got in that big bundle?" Once inside the house, Great Aunt Gu asked. Su Qingli untied the parcel. "Just cotton and fabric." "Great." Aunt Gu's eyes widened in surprise. "You won't need all of this." "How many jean of cotton did you buy?" 7 jean. "That is far too much." 3 jean would be more than enough for cotton, padded jackets, and trousers for the 2 children. She picked up the fabric and examined the patterns. "And you've bought too much cloth as well." "Auntie, it's not just 1 set each. I want to make 2 sets for them. 1 to wear for the Lunar New Year and another for everyday wear at home. I'll also have 2 pairs of shoes made for each of them." Indeed, 2 sets of cotton, padded clothes apiece. When she looked in the wardrobe that day, she'd seen the 2 children only had 1 set of cotton, padded jacket and trousers each. They had nothing to change into, and what they owned was old, the fabric feeling rather stiff. Now that she had money, cloth, and cotton, there was no reason not to make more. Hearing this, Aunt Gu tapped Su Qingli lightly on the forehead. "You silly girl. Many folks can't even afford 1 new outfit a whole year, yet you're having 2 made for each child." Su Qingli smiled and took out dried noodles and brown sugar. "This is for you, Auntie, as payment for your trouble." Seeing the packet of dried noodles in her hand, Aunt Gu was shocked. "Where did you get dried noodles?" My family sent them to me, Su Qingli blinked. Your family sent them? Then you ought to keep them for yourself. Aunt Gu refused to take them. Those fine, white-dried noodles she had only seen the capital, born educated youths in the youth point eat once, just once. They looked terribly precious. Please take them, Auntie. I still have plenty at home. Su Qingli pressed the dried noodles and brown sugar into her hands. I'll take the brown sugar, but you take the noodles back. Come on, Auntie, just keep them. They went back and forth refusing for a while, until Aunt Gu finally accepted them. The clothes should be ready around the middle of the 10th lunar month, Aunt Gu said. Su Qingli nodded. It was now the middle of the 9th lunar month, so it would take about a month. Aunt Gu added that normally it would not take so long, only around 10 days. But with the autumn harvest underway, she had to cook for everyone and tend to household chores, so progress would be slower. After chatting for a short while, Su Qingli got ready to leave. Changwei, do you want to play a little longer or come home with me? In the yard, 3 little girls squatted on the ground, absorbed in some game. Sister-in-law, I'm coming home. The little girl hopped over. All right. Su Qingli lifted her up at once. What did you eat at Annie's for lunch? Corn buns. A piece of rock sugar was in her mouth, and she held another one in her hand. I bought some nice food. Su Qingli tapped the tip of her nose. The little girl's eyes lit up. Are they honey, sugar cakes? In this era, honey, sugar cakes were a rare treat loved by children and grown-ups alike. The original host would often bring them back for the 2 children whenever she went to the county town. No. Then what is it? Braised, meat-steamed buns. Braised, meat-steamed buns? Yu Changhua had never eaten them, though she had tasted meat before. From the name alone, they contained meat, so they must taste wonderful. Back home, they washed their hands first. Su Qingli told her to sit in the west room, then went to the east room. She took 4 braised, meat-steamed buns out of her spatial storage and arranged them on a plate, then poured hot water she had stored in an aluminium kettle from before her time, traveled to make 2 cups of milk powder. She set the buns and milk on the table. A rich aroma drifted from the steamed buns, mixed with the sweet scent of milk powder, utterly tempting. Gu Changhua did not know which smell to savor first. The milk powder is still hot. Let it cool a little before drinking. We'll eat the buns first. Su Qingli handed her a bun. Gu Changhua took a big bite. Sister-in-law, this is so delicious. She then sniffed her cup of milk powder, looking utterly content. It smells so good. Su Qingli stroked her hair gently. There will be more later. 1 steamer held 12 buns. She had steamed 5 steamers, making 60 in total. She had eaten 2 after crossing over, leaving 58, more than enough for them for several days. She also had 60 steamed plain buns in storage. Su Qingli was starving too. She ate 3 large buns straight away. Her body had not had anything to eat since morning. She had been far too busy to remember meals. Little Gu Changhua finished 1 large bun and a cup of milk powder, her belly round and full. After swallowing the last sip of milk, she seemed to remember something and looked up. Sister-in-law, are there more buns? What is it? Su Qingli asked. Brother hasn't had any yet. Su Qingli smiled. Of course there are. We saved some for him. Brother will probably want 2 meat buns, the little girl said very seriously. In the past her brother could eat 2 corn flour flatbreads, so surely he would need 2 braised meat buns. She wondered just how many buns her sister-in-law had bought. There is more than enough. I bought lots, Su Qingli stroked her head. After eating, she washed the dishes, changed the little girl's clothes and combed her hair neatly, letting her play indoors. When combing Changyue's hair, she had found no lice or their tiny white eggs. It seemed the household was free of lice, and Su Qingli felt relieved. With nothing else planned for the afternoon, she decided to give the whole house a thorough cleaning. First, she replaced the children's bedding. In this time, most quilt covers were sewn directly onto the cotton padding, as were mattress covers. To wash them you had to unpick all the stitching, which was extremely troublesome. Su Qingli thought she would need to travel to the county town again in a few days to buy separate bed sheets and quilt covers. Without them, the bedding would get dirty quickly and have to be unpicked for washing time and again. After changing the bedding, she tidied both her wardrobe and the children's. Fortunately, the original host had been quite neat, and all the clothes were clean. By the time she finished cleaning, it was 4 in the afternoon. Her brother-in-law Gu Changsung would soon be out of school, so Su Qingli set about preparing dinner. Steamed buns would be the staple, paired with millet congee. The original host had planted a variety of vegetables in the backyard: kidney beans, eggplants, carrots, tomatoes, green peppers, Chinese cabbage, green onions, chives, and cucumbers. But as it was already the 10th lunar month, most of the vegetables had grown old and were no longer good to eat. Su Qingli took 2 eggplants out of her storage and steamed them to make garlic, tossed eggplant. Once steamed, the eggplants were torn apart and mixed with mashed garlic, chopped coriander, green onions, chopped green and red chilies, and celery. This was her quick version. Authentic preserved garlic, tossed eggplant required packing the seasoned filling into the split eggplants and sealing them in a jar to marinate for 2 days for fuller flavor. Qingli, Qingli, are you home? Su Qingli was mashing garlic in the kitchen when she heard someone calling outside. It must be Aunt Ho-Hot, who had arranged to trade 2 caddies worth of cotton coupons with her that morning. Oh, Qingli, you're cooking. Aunt Ho-Hot walked in carrying a woven basket. I'm gonna take a short nap at noon, but I slept right past the time. Su Qingli smiled. Auntie, please sit. I'll go get the coupons. She went into the inner room and fetched 2 cotton coupons. Normally such ration coupons were borrowed rather than traded. You borrowed them and returned them when you had spares. But from what Aunt Ho-Hot had said, she would not be able to return them, so goods would have to be exchanged instead. Qingli, take these. After receiving the coupons, Aunt Ho-Hot handed over her basket. Inside were 20 eggs and 5 tomatoes. Su Qingli put the eggs into an egg basket and set the tomatoes aside to make sweet tossed tomatoes for dinner. Aunt Ho-Hot did not stay long. She chatted briefly and hurried home to cook. Everyone else was busy with the autumn harvest this time of year, except their little family of 3. Thanks to Gu Changlin's monthly military stipend of over 20 yuan, the original host had never worked in the fields to earn work points. She stayed home studying, hoping she could one day pass the exam and work at the county hospital. Even after being sent down to the countryside, she never gave up studying medicine, convinced that constant effort would let her become a doctor someday, and indeed that would have come true. Su Qingli chopped the garlic, coriander, and other seasonings. The eggplants finished steaming, so she took them out, cooled them in cold water, tore them open, and tossed them with the seasonings. She tasted it and was satisfied with the flavor. The millet congee in the pot was done. She set a steaming tray on top and reheated the buns. She poured hot water from her stored aluminum kettle into the thermos flask. Her 4-year-old sister-in-law was easy to keep happy, but her 10-year-old brother-in-law was far more observant. The family owned 1 thermos flask, but no dedicated kettle. They boiled water in the big cooking pot and poured it into the flask. She would have to find a chance to bring out her vintage aluminum kettle from storage, along with the iron pot, iron griddle, clay stove, and coal. Since she had them, she might as well use them. She planned to go to the county town again in the next day or 2. She needed more than just the kettle. The original host only had 1 towel for herself, and Chongqing and Changwei shared another old, worn towel. She also needed bed sheets and quilt covers. A long list of supplies had to be bought, all to be ready before the novel's villain eldest brother returned. Lost in these thoughts, she heard Gu Changyue's voice. Brother, you're home. The second villain of the story had arrived. Let me tell you in secret. Sister-in-law went to the county town today and bought delicious braised, meat steamed buns. Really? I've never had braised, meat steamed buns. Sister-in-law saved 2 for you. Su Qingli stepped outside and saw a handsome young boy carrying an olive green canvas school bag with a bundle of firewood slung over his back. Gu Changwei chattered excitedly beside him. The boy looked up. Sister-in-law. Su Qingli raised her brows. Truly, he was the best-looking of the 3 villains. She stepped forward and took the firewood from him. Go wash your hands. It's time for dinner. Gu Chonglin knew nothing of daily household life, but these 2 young villains had been very sensible as children. 4-year-old Gu Changwei often helped wash dishes and sweep floors. Every day after school, Gu Chongqing would bring home firewood. They were such good children. If fate had not been cruel to them, they could have had far brighter futures. Once inside, Gu Changwei babbled to her brother. Brother, sister-in-law gave me buns, candy, and sweet milk powder too. Milk powder? Gu Chongqing was astonished that his sister-in-law had gotten milk powder. Su Qingli, who had just walked in, heard their conversation. You get some too. From now on, each of you will have 1 cup of milk powder every day. She would care for the young villains by tending first to their daily needs. Really, sister-in-law? Overjoyed, Gu Changwei threw her arms around Su Qingli, then ran to her brother. Brother, the milk powder smells so wonderful and tastes so sweet. Gu Chongxing pressed his lips together. He had never drunk milk powder, only malted milk extract. He supposed milk powder would taste something like that. Dinner for the three of them consisted of braised meat steamed buns, millet congee, garlic tossed eggplant, and sweet tossed tomatoes. Su Qingli set the dishes on the table, then went to make a cup of milk powder for each child. Faced with such a fine spread, Gu Chongxing was stunned. Had his sister-in-law somehow come into a windfall? Braised meat buns, milk powder, sweet tomatoes. Sister-in-law, did you buy millet? Gu Chongxing asked. Older children were harder to fool than little Changwei, who simply ate without asking questions. My family sent it to me. They mailed over thick quilts, millet, and other food supplies. Gu Chongxing asked no further questions and focused on eating. The food was marvelous. Soft white flour buns filled with braised meat, fragrant millet congee, sweet tomatoes, and creamy milk. Su Qingli had eaten 3 buns in the afternoon and was not hungry, so she only ate 1. Gu Changwei also ate 1 bun and devoted herself to drinking her milk powder. Gu Chongxing saw that the two of them had only had 1 each. He wanted another bun, but felt awkward and set down his chopsticks. He drank congee instead. Why, Chongxing, are you full? Have another bun, take both of these. Changwei and I already ate in the afternoon, so we aren't very hungry now. Seeing his embarrassment, Su Qingli piled 2 more buns onto his bowl. Sister-in-law, that's too much. 1 is enough for me, Gu Chongxing said hastily. Su Qingli waved her hand. I bought 20 large buns today. Eat them, there will still be more tomorrow. Gu Chongxing fell silent. Su Qingli sipped her congee and chatted casually with him and Changwei. While they ate, over at the main Gu household, Aunt Gu spoke to Uncle Gu at the dinner table. Qingli asked me to make clothes today for Changwei and Chongxing. 2 full sets each. 2 sets? Everyone present was surprised. Aunt Gu nodded. Yes, 2 cotton-padded jacket tan trouser sets apiece. 1 for the Lunar New Year, 1 for daily wear, plus 2 pairs of cotton-padded shoes for each. Qingli truly treats Changwei and Chongxing well. Gu Changlin has married a fine wife. Everyone agreed. Few birth parents would do so much for their own children, let alone a sister-in-law. Every time Qingli went to the county town, she brought back treats for the children, honey sugar cakes, fried rice crackers, sometimes white rabbit cream candies. She was better to them than a birth mother would be. It was true she disliked field labor, but with Changlin's monthly stipend, there was no need for her to work the land. Aunt Gu's third daughter-in-law Chen Shuao felt a stab of envy. Why could she not have a military husband? She still had to toil. Mother, surely Qingli didn't make you sew all that for nothing? What did she give you? Aunt Gu shot her a glance. The third daughter-in-law was decent enough otherwise, but she talked too much. She gave me half a jean of brown sugar and a packet of fine white dried noodles. She fetched the packet to show. Where did she get dried noodles? The eldest daughter-in-law asked. Her family sent them to her. Everyone understood. Chen Shuao grew even more resentful. As an educated youth just like Su Qingli had a good marriage and family support, while her own family exploited her, forcing her to give up her job for her brother, sending her down to the countryside. Every letter home brought pleas for grain and money. Our 4th sister-in-law is such a good-hearted person, said eldest brother Gu. Chongxing and Changyue's birth parents can rest easy in the afterlife. Uncle Gu shared that thought. Back at Su Qingli's home, they finished all 6 buns, the congee, and tomatoes. Only a little garlic-tossed eggplant was left. Most of the food had been eaten by Gu Chongxing. The growing boy had consumed 4 buns, 3 bowls of millet congee, and a cup of milk powder. Truly, a teenage boy could eat a family out of house and home. Sister-in-law, I'm stuffed. Gu Chongxing rubbed his belly. He had never been so full in his entire life. He licked his lips. Those braised meat buns were incredible. He wished he could eat them every day. You've overeaten. Take your sister out into the yard to walk it off. I'll heat water so you 2 can bathe before bed, Su Qingli said. Why not climb into bedding unwashed? The children cleared away the bowls and went outside. Su Qingli washed the dishes and heated a large pot of water. She bathed Gu Changwei carefully with soap, dressed her in clean undergarments, and tucked her into bed. Chongxing, here's soap for you. Wash yourself thoroughly. She could help bathe 4-year-old Changwei. But 10-year-old Chongxing was already too old for that. Su Qingli also washed herself from head to toe. After Gu Chongxing finished bathing, Su Qingli cut an apple into 3 pieces. She wanted some too. Apple. Gu Changwei cheered. Yes, go ahead. My family sent these over, Su Qingli said. All part of her story. The three of them crunched through the apple quickly. Gu Chongxing noticed the brand new bedding. Sister-in-law, you gave us the new quilts. What will you sleep under? My family sent me a big double quilt. There will be enough even when your brother comes home, don't worry. Your old quilts had turned stiff, so I replaced them. There was no way she would share a bed with villain eldest brother Gu Chonglin when he returned. She planned to sleep with Chongwei and let Gu Chonglin share a bed with Chongxing. Alright, time for bed, both of you. It was 8 o'clock. Su Qingli went to her own room but could not fall asleep. Her mind raced, thinking about plans for the next day, the fact that she had transmigrated into a book and even bound to a system. It was all utterly unbelievable. She had no clear memory of when she finally drifted off, worn out by her swirling thoughts. She woke promptly at 6 the next morning. Though she longed to stay in bed, she had to get up to prepare breakfast for Gu Chongxing before school. She steamed egg custard with 3 eggs and reheated buns. She also boiled 1 extra egg for Chongxing to take to school. Halfway through building the fire, Gu Chongxing woke up, mumbled sister-in-law sleepily. He went to wash his face. Gu Chongwei was still fast asleep. Seeing buns steaming in the pot, Gu Chongxing asked in surprise, sister-in-law, are we having steamed buns for breakfast too? Su Qingli nodded. She could not be bothered making anything else. Gu Chongxing swallowed. This felt unbelievably extravagant. Eating meat-filled buns 2 meals in a row. No one else in Qingshan Production Brigade, perhaps no one in the entire Hongqi commune, lived like this. For breakfast, Gu Chongxing ate 2 meat buns, a bowl of egg custard, and a cup of milk powder. Su Qingli packed 2 more meat buns into his lunchbox. But he said, sister-in-law, just 1. I already have this boiled egg. Will that keep you full? Gu Chongxing nodded vigorously. Yes, I'll be fine. Very well, pack 1. I'll keep the other for you to eat when you get home. Su Qingli understood why he wanted only 1. Large white flour meat buns drew attention. She remembered hearing from the original host that one boy at Chongxing's school ate white flour food every single day, steamed buns, plain buns, noodles, flatbreads. His family doted on him greatly, while his sisters subsisted on corn buns. To afford constant white flour food in that era, he must have been a golden grandson. The whole family scrimped to feed him. Sister-in-law, I'm leaving. Gu Chongxing slung his school bag over his shoulder. Su Qingli told him, eat the steamed buns while they're hot, or ask your teacher for a cup of hot water. I got it, sister-in-law. Gu Chongxing left for school. Su Qingli had little appetite in the morning, so she only ate 1 steamed bun and drank some egg custard. Right after she finished, little Gu Chongwei woke up. Su Qingli dressed her, helped her wash up and combed her hair, then got her something to eat. Changwei, sister-in-law is going to tidy up. Do you want to play at home or go play with Tingting and Yu? That was right. Su Qingli planned to sort out the backyard vegetable garden today. The little girl sipped her milk powder slowly and replied, sister-in-law, I want to play with Tingting and the others. All right then. Go over to their house. Okay. After the meal, Su Qingli took her to Uncle Gu's house. She gave each of the 3 children a piece of rock sugar, chatted briefly with Aunt Gu, and then headed back home. She had quite a lot of work ahead of her today, tidying the backyard and pickling vegetables. Garlic eggplant pickles, fermented vegetables, pickled cabbage, and sour pickles. She might as well get all of them done while she had time. First, Su Qingli sorted the bedding in the side rooms, swept the floors, and washed the dishes. Then she went out to the backyard. Their backyard was not large, about half a mu. Yet it was more than enough to grow vegetables for the whole family. Besides the vegetable patch, there was a well in the backyard. Having a well at home made getting water very convenient. Otherwise, they would have to fetch water from the river. In the vegetable garden, only cabbages, peppers, and eggplants remained. All the other vegetables were past their prime. Su Qingli took a basin and picked all the green peppers and eggplants from the vines to make garlic eggplant pickles. With the extra eggplants from her spatial storage, she could fill a whole crock. She got straight to work. Pickling required crocks. Su Qingli dug out all the crocks they owned, 1 large one, 2 medium-sized ones, and 1 small one. Though daily necessities were hard to come by in this era, every household had large earthen crocks. Su Qingli scrubbed every crock clean and set them out in the sun to dry and disinfect. She started with the garlic eggplant pickles. Her filling recipe was quite elaborate. She chopped red and green chili peppers, coriander, celery, carrots, garlic, ginger, and scallions into fine bits and set them aside. She put the eggplants on to steam. While the eggplants steamed, she washed all the vegetables for regular pickles. She laid them outside to air dry their surface moisture. By the time she finished those tasks, the eggplants were done steaming. While waiting for the eggplants to cool, she prepared the regular pickles. Once those were finished, the eggplants had cooled down. She stuffed them with filling and packed them into jars. The garlic eggplant pickles were done. Next came the sour pickled cabbage, which was much simpler. She stripped off the rotten outer leaves of the Chinese cabbages, washed them, layered them in the crock with salt sprinkled between each layer, filled the crock with water, and weighed everything down with a big stone. That was all it took. By the time Su Qingli finished all her work, it was already 12 noon. She walked over to Uncle Gu's house, where the family was just about to have lunch. Qingli is here, Aunt Gu greeted her with a smile. Su Qingli nodded and greeted everyone. She picked up little Gu Changwei. Changwei, let's go home. Okay. Neither of them had eaten lunch. Weary from a full morning of work, Su Qingli did not feel like cooking an elaborate meal. Noodles would do. Back home, she cooked 2 bowls of noodles, cracked 2 eggs into them, and seasoned with soy sauce. She added coriander, and they ate their simple lunch. After eating and washing up, they planned to take an afternoon nap. There was still yard work waiting for them when they woke up. Changwei, do you want to go play with Yuyu and Tingting again this afternoon? Su Qingli asked before they slept. Little Gu Changwei nodded vigorously. Yes. We're building a house for the baby chicks, and it's not finished yet. All right. We'll go over again after we wake up. At Uncle Gu's house, over the dinner table, Gu Tingting from the 3rd branch of the family suddenly turned to Grandma Gu. Grandma, does milk powder taste good? Huh? Aunt Gu and the others looked confused. 3rd Aunt Gu asked her daughter, what brought that on? Aunt Changwei said 4th sister-in-law gives her milk powder to drink. She says it's sweet and tasty. The little girl had never had milk powder. She could only imagine what it tasted like. Guyu added, Aunt Changwei also said they ate meat-stuffed steamed buns yesterday. Hearing this, everyone understood. 3rd Aunt Gu muttered, 4th sister-in-law really doesn't know how to save money, buying all kinds of food. She acts just like a child herself. Always thinking about eating. Eldest Aunt Gu said, Qingli went to the county town yesterday. She must have brought those things back from there. 3rd Aunt Gu said, those meat-stuffed buns are only sold at the state-run restaurant. Why spend money on them when you could buy meat and make them yourself? One person after another chimed in at the table. Only 2nd Aunt Gu stayed quiet. She ignored their chatter and kept eating, piling food onto her own daughter and 2nd Uncle Gu's bowls. Finally, Aunt Gu tapped her bowl. Stop talking and eat your food. Had none of them noticed 2nd Uncle's family? They were almost finished with all the dishes. When they woke up in the afternoon, Su Qingli took little Gu Changwei back to Uncle Gu's house. Lying down for her nap, she had remembered one more thing she wanted to pickle, salted duck eggs. She had 5 crates of duck eggs in her spatial storage. She needed an excuse to consume them. So she planned to make her own salted duck eggs and quietly add the eggs from her storage when they were eaten. That way no one would suspect a thing. But they did not raise ducks at home and had no duck eggs. She would have to ask Aunt Gu. Su Qingli brought the matter up with Aunt Gu, who looked surprised. What? You want to pickle salted duck eggs too? Su Qingli nodded. Yes, Aunt. I heard from Yuyu and Tingting that you give Changwei milk powder to drink, 1 cup every day? Aunt Gu asked. That's what I'm hoping to do, since fresh milk is hard to get, Su Qingli replied. Aunt Gu shook her head. That must cost so much money. Su Qingli spread her hands. What can I do, Aunt? Look how thin the children are. Leaving Chongqing aside, just look at Changwei. Her hair is yellow from poor nutrition and calcium deficiency. Without enough calcium, she won't grow tall. Aunt Gu retorted, nonsense. All children are like this these days. Chongqing and Changwei are lucky, you spoil them with good food all the time. Aunt Gu is right, most families live that way. But her household was different. With her special advantage, she ought to give the children a better life. They chatted a while longer. Aunt Gu agreed that the children deserved good care, but urged her to spend her money more carefully. Su Qingli let the advice go in one ear and out the other. Very well, how many duck eggs do you need? Aunt Gu asked. Su Qingli thought for a moment. 100. That many? Is it too many? 50 will do if you can't gather 100, Aunt. Aunt Gu waved her hand. It's not impossible. I'll see what I can round up for you. Thank you so much, Aunt. Once they are pickled, I'll bring you some to taste. Aunt Gu smiled and said she looked forward to trying her handiwork. She was quite fond of this niece-in-law. The young woman was pretty, good-natured, and very generous. Before leaving, Su Qingli pressed a handful of rock sugar into Aunt Gu's palm. Aunt Gu stared at the dozen, odd pieces of sugar in her hand. She popped one into her mouth. It tasted wonderfully sweet. She locked the rest away in her cabinet. Thanks to little Aunt Chongwei, Yu and Tingding had eaten plenty of sugar these past few days. The rest would be saved for later. Back home, Su Qingli tidied the vegetable patch. She pulled up all the old plant vines and stacked them to burn. Then she drew water and filled the household water vats. It was time to cook supper. After eating several meals of wheat noodles, Su Qingli craved rice. She decided to cook mixed grain rice. Su Qingli had grown up in a rural area in her previous life, yet she had never cooked rice over a big stove. Still, she had watched her grandmother do it when she was little, so it should not be too hard. She had a natural talent for cooking and had never ruined a meal. For side dishes, she made spicy shredded potatoes and stir-fried cabbage. She also steamed egg custard. The other two dishes were spicy, so little Gu Changwei would eat only the egg custard. She cooked the rice, scooped it out and steamed it further. Then she stir-fried the vegetables. They only had one stove, so everything had to be cooked one after another. Multitasking was impossible. Just as Su Qingli finished cooking, her brother-in-law Gu Chongshin came home from school. Sister-in-law, I'm home. Chongshin, go fetch Changwei from Uncle Gu's house. Okay. Su Qingli put away the firewood he had carried back on his back. Their stock was running low, only 3 bundles remained. At that moment, the system spoke. Ding! Issuing level 1 mission. Stock up on firewood for the winter as soon as possible. Let the protagonists enjoy a warm winter. Mission time limit. 0/7 days point. Reward for completion. 1 lottery draw. A mission progress bar appeared in front of Su Qingli. Well, even a progress bar. Very well. She had new work starting tomorrow, going up the mountain to chop firewood. But before chopping wood, she had to go to the county town early tomorrow morning to buy bed sheets and duvet covers. When Gu Chongshin returned with Changwei, she told them about her plan. Gu Chongshin waved his hand. Sister-in-law, we don't need bed sheets. Without sheets and covers, the bedding will get dirty very quickly. Enough talk. Let's eat. The spicy shredded potatoes and stir-fried cabbage were big hits with the children. They praised her. Sister-in-law, your cooking is so good. The 3 of them finished their meal, washed up, and it was time for bed. Early the next morning, Su Qingli woke up at 5. She made steamed buns and millet porridge for breakfast, woke the 2 children, helped Gu Changwei wash and comb her hair, and got them to eat. By 6 o'clock, she said to Gu Chongshin, Chongshin, drop Changwei off at Uncle Gu's on your way to school. I'm leaving. The ox cart jolted along for 2 hours and brought her to the county town. She wasted no time and headed straight for the supply and marketing cooperative. She bought 2 bed sheets, 2 duvet covers, 2 towels, 2 bottles of yellow, peach canned fruit, and sets of long-sleeved cotton underwear for both Gu Changwei and Gu Chongshin. She also bought 2 pairs of socks for each child. On top of that, she purchased 2 jin of sweet sponge cakes and 2 jin of fried rice, crunch snacks. She looked around but found no thermoses. She went over to the shop assistant who had served her earlier, a young woman with twin braids who looked quite lively. Comrade, are there no thermoses left? Joe Lily looked up. She remembered this customer who had bought quite a lot and spent freely. They're sold out. New stock won't arrive until next month. Comrade, could you set one aside for me when they come in? Su Qingli quietly slipped her a bar of soap and whispered, it's from Shanghai. Joe Lily's heart skipped a beat. This woman was far too bold, passing things like this right in the shop. She stammered, all right. Su Qingli smiled. My name is Su Qingli. I'm an educated youth sent down from the city, living in Qingshan Production Brigade. I'm Go Lily. I live right here in the county town. If you need anything in the future, tell me and I'll save goods for you. Joe Lily was straightforward. Knowing she owed a favor, she offered her help right away. That was exactly what Su Qingli wanted. She chatted with her for a short while, then left the cooperative as Joe Lily grew busy. Su Qingli got back home at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. She put her purchases away, then took half a jin of sponge cakes over to Uncle Gu's house. Since she went to the county town so often, Aunt Gu asked, what did you go by this time, Qingli? Nothing much. Just some long-sleeved cotton underwear for the children and 2 jin of meat, Su Qingli replied. Ready-made long-sleeved underwear? You could sew them yourself and save lots of money. Aunt Gu exclaimed. A child set cost 3 or 4 yuan. 2 sets would come out to 7 or 8 yuan. Su Qingli smiled. My family sent me some money. Aunt Gu shook her head. Child, you ought to keep that money for yourself. When you have children of your own someday, you'll need funds for so many things. Have children? Well, she had no plans for children anytime soon. Su Qingli only smiled and said nothing more. She handed over the half-jean of sponge cakes and took Gu Chongwei home. Gu Chongwei had already eaten lunch at Uncle Gu's place, so Su Qingli did not bother cooking. She ate a steamed bun with pickled mustard greens to tide herself over and took a nap. After waking up, she gave Gu Chongwei 2 pieces of sponge cake and brewed her a cup of brown sugar water. Aunt Gu had told her the little girl had barely eaten at noon. Spoiled by better food these days, she was growing tired of cornmeal buns. Once the child finished eating, Su Qingli redid her hair and sent her back over to Uncle Gu's. When she had picked Chongwei up at noon, she had told Aunt Gu she would be going up the mountain to chop firewood over the next few days and asked her to watch over the little girl. Aunt Gu had said it was no trouble. One child to look after was not much different from 2, and Changwei mostly played by herself with her 2 cousins. Besides, Su Qingli had given her half a jean of brown sugar and a bag of dried noodles a few days before, and now half a jean of sponge cakes. Watching one little girl was the least she could do. Aunt Gu was happy to help. After dropping Gu Chongwei off, Su Qingli grabbed an axe and rope and headed for the mountains. Most people from Qingshan Production Brigade were busy working in the farm fields. She was probably the only person in the whole brigade with free time. Well, almost the only one. Deep in the mountains, she ran into 2 male-educated youths she had ridden the ox cart with before, Zhou Yang and Qin Jiang. They appeared to be gathering firewood as well. She heard they came from the capital and had well-connected families. Judging by their leisure, they had no shortage of money or coupons. While everyone else labored in the fields, they did not work. Just like her, they preferred to avoid heavy farm labor. Su Jiqing, you're out collecting firewood too? Zhou Yang and Qin Jiang spotted her and walked over to greet her. Su Qingli nodded and did not engage in much small talk. She barely knew them. Once she had walked far away, Zhou Yang glanced at Qin Jiang and clicked his tongue. You can barely take your eyes off her. Are you that taken with her? But it doesn't matter. She's married, and her husband is a soldier. You wouldn't want to get mixed up in interfering with a military marriage, would you? Qin Jiang frowned at him. Don't talk nonsense. Fine, I'm talking nonsense. Zhou Yang shrugged. By the way, that Tang Jiqing from the educated youth dorm is quite fond of you. Don't you feel anything for her? Qin Jiang looked exasperated. If you like her so much, go pursue her yourself. He turned and walked onward, ignoring Zhou Yang. Hey, what kind of answer is that? It has nothing to do with me. Zhou Yang hurried after him. Alone in the woods, Su Qingli chopped wood efficiently. Thanks to her special strength boosting skill card, the heavy work felt effortless. By afternoon's end, she carried 5 large bundles of firewood back home. Her mission progress bar rose to 10%. That was enough for today. She would keep working tomorrow. Back home, she washed her hands and started supper. They would have rice, braised pork, stir, fried beans, and sweet mixed tomatoes given to her by Aunt Gu. Su Qingli was a very good cook. There was hardly ever leftover food after her meals. When dinner was ready, Gu Chongshin came home from school. Su Qingli told him to go fetch his sister. The 3 children must have been playing wildly that afternoon. Gu Changwei was covered head to toe in mud. Oh my goodness, how did you get so filthy? Su Qingli sighed, her head starting to ache. She fetched water to clean her. She had only planned to wash her hands, feet, and face, but the little girl's whole body was caked in dirt, so she gave her a full bath. Sister-in-law, did you go chop firewood on the mountain this afternoon? Gu Chongshin noticed the piles of firewood in the yard. Su Qingli hummed in agreement. Gu Chongshin said, you don't need to do that. I can gather firewood after school every day. His sister-in-law was a city girl and used to rough manual labor. That kind of work ought to fall to him. It's nothing. I have plenty of free time around the house. I'm just stockpiling firewood for the winter, Su Qingli said with a smile. Stocking firewood so all the children would have a warm winter. All right, time for dinner. We have rice tonight and meat. Once the bath was done, they went indoors. She told Gu Changshin to dry his sister's hair and get her dressed while she brought the food to the table. Sister-in-law, it smells so good. Gu Changyue's face lit up at the sight of the braised pork. Enjoy it then. Eat lots, Su Qingli told her. I'll eat 5 bowls. Gu Changshin teased his little sister. 5 bowls will make you burst. The braised pork and stir-fried beans went perfectly with rice. The sweet tomatoes cut through the richness of the meat. Gu Changwei finished one full bowl of rice, Gu Chongshan ate 2 bowls, and Su Qingli, worn out from chopping wood, also ate 2 bowls. After supper and dish washing, Su Qingli brought out the new long-sleeved underwear and socks she had bought and told the children to try them on. These are what I bought today. Go put them on. New clothes. Gu Changwei was overjoyed. Su Qingli helped her get dressed. The clothes fit well, just a little loose for growing room. Sister-in-law, it fits perfectly, Gu Chongshan said after trying on his top. If the top fit, the trousers ought to fit as well. Su Qingli nodded. Good. It seems I'm good at picking clothes. She went to the east room, opened a bottle of canned fruit, and let the children eat it while she sewed the hems of her new bed sheets and duvet covers. Little Gu Changwei was easily satisfied with tasty treats and paid no mind to anything else. Gu Chongshan, however, grew suspicious. Lately there had been meat, stuffed buns, milk powder, new clothes, socks, canned fruit, and pastries. Where did all this come from? He could not hold back his curiosity. Sister-in-law, did you find a large sum of money somewhere? Su Qingli looked confused. Gu Chongshan stared at her. You've bought so many things. Su Qingli raised an eyebrow. The boy was growing up and not so easy to fool anymore. My family sent me some money. Gu Chongshan said nothing more. He finished the canned food in his bowl and took his little sister to brush their teeth of his own accord. His sister-in-law had bought them not only new clothes but also new toothbrushes and towels. His sister-in-law was so good to him and his little sister. When he grew up, he would definitely take good care of her and his elder brother. He just had no idea what kind of work he could do to earn money. Farming was out of the question anyway. After brushing his teeth, Gu Chongshan still could not think of any well-paid job. Meanwhile, Su Qingli had finished her sewing. Seeing that it was getting late, she told the 2 children to climb onto the kang and go to sleep. The next day, Su Qingli woke up at 5 o'clock. She had gone to bed at 8 the previous night, getting 10 hours of sleep. They had been eating steamed buns for breakfast the past couple of days, so Su Qingli decided to make something different, cornmeal steamed cake. It was simple to make and tasted delicious. However, the cornmeal at home was rather coarse and needed to be sifted. Adding a few eggs and chopped red dates to the cornmeal steamed cake made it really tasty. Su Qingli also cooked a pot of millet congee and fried 4 eggs, 1 for each person. The extra one was for Gu Chongshan to take to school for lunch. That settled breakfast. At 6 o'clock, her brother-in-law Gu Chongshan woke up, right as Su Qingli finished preparing the meal. Time for breakfast. Su Qingli went into the inner room. Little Gu Changwei was still asleep, sprawled all over the kang. Since Su Qingli planned to go up the mountain to collect firewood, she woke the little girl up. She dressed, washed and brushed the half-asleep child, who was now fully awake after all that fuss. Her first words were, "Sister-in-law, it smells so good." She was referring to the milk powder Su Qingli had prepared in advance. It was ready to drink at just the right temperature for breakfast. Smells nice, doesn't it? I made you some milk powder. Su Qingli lifted her onto a wooden stool, and the 3 of them sat down to eat. The 2 children loved the fried eggs and cornmeal steamed cake. The cake was soft, fragrant, and slightly sweet. They had only ever eaten boiled eggs before, never fried ones. Fried eggs used too much oil, so their elders never made them. Boiled eggs were the most they got. Chongshan, will 2 pieces of steamed cake be enough for your lunch? Su Qingli packed his midday meal. Gu Chongshan nodded. That's plenty, sister-in-law. 2 pieces of cake plus 1 fried egg would fill him up. After her brother-in-law Gu Chongshan left for school, Su Qingli sent her sister-in-law Gu Changwei to Uncle Gu's house. She locked the door, picked up her axe and headed for the mountain to keep gathering firewood. She had plenty of time in the morning and collected 7 large bundles of firewood. She went home at noon and took a nap. In the afternoon, she went back up the mountain, thinking about what to cook for dinner. At midday, she and Changwei had eaten dried noodles. To tell the truth, in her past life Su Qingli had not really liked noodles of any kind: dried noodles, hand-pulled noodles, Lanzhou beef noodles, instant noodles, stretched noodles, all sorts. She also disliked vermicelli, both thin and wide varieties. Su Qingli thought for a moment and decided on rice for dinner. For a main dish, she could make spare ribs or braised pork in brown sauce. Somehow, ever since she entered this body, she had been constantly craving meat, wanting it at every meal. She settled on braised pork in brown sauce. That afternoon, she gathered 5 more large bundles of firewood before heading home to cook. She chose marbled streaky pork, perfect for braised pork in brown sauce. First, she cooked the rice. Then she got started on the dish. Suchingli told herself that once she finished her firewood stockpiling task, she would find a chance to take the iron pot and clay stove out of her spatial storage. She also needed to render some lard. Right now, their household used rapeseed oil. When Gu Chongsun got out of school and walked into the courtyard, he caught the rich aroma of meat. He wondered what delicious dish his sister-in-law had made this time. Suchingli spotted him, took his school bag, and told him to fetch his little sister from Uncle Gu's home. Sister-in-law, you made braised pork. Gu Chongsun's eyes lit up when he saw the glossy, reddish, brown braised pork on the table. Suchingli simply hummed in reply. Brother, is braised pork tasty? Little Gu Changhua had never tasted it before. Gu Chongsun stroked her hair. It's delicious, really delicious. He had eaten braised pork only once, when he was 5 years old. Back then his parents were still alive, and his father had bought it from the state-run restaurant in the county town. There had not been much. He and his elder brother each got only 2 pieces. But the wonderful flavor had lingered in his memory for a very long time. All right, let's eat. Suchingli had made a large portion, filling a big bowl. The 3 of them could eat their fill. And they did. Not a grain of rice or scrap of meat was left on the table. Her brother-in-law Gu Chongsun ate 3 bowls of rice, all by himself. What an enormous appetite the boy had. Most families would not be able to afford to feed him. Even little Gu Changhua ate 1.5 bowls. Clearly both children adored the braised pork. Feeling a little greasy after the rich meal, Suchingli brought out the leftover canned fruit from the day before for the children and had some herself too. Another day came to an end. For the next 5 days, Suchingli stuck to her routine: home, Uncle Gu's house, and the mountain. As she kept gathering firewood, the pile in the courtyard grew bigger and bigger, rising like a small hill. At noon on the 7th day, the task progress bar before her eyes was finally full. As the bar filled up, the system voice chimed in. Ding! Congratulations, host. You have successfully completed the task. Rewards have been issued. Please proceed to the lucky draw. A spinning lucky draw wheel appeared in front of Suchingli. She tapped the center. The wheel spun for several seconds before it stopped, revealing the prize. 10 consecutive draws. The screen showed 10 consecutive draws. The system sounded excited. Host, your luck is incredible. You've drawn 10 consecutive draws. Suchingli was delighted. She had never expected this outcome. 10 consecutive draws were something only the luckiest could get, whether in the real world or within the system. Come on, host. Draw quickly. Let me see what wonderful prizes you will get. Suchingli nodded and lifted her hand, then suddenly remembered something. System, does this wheel have better luck next time as a prize? The system huffed. Pfft, what decent system uses that? That's for poor systems without enough system points. I don't have such prizes. It was a well-off system ranked on the Space Time Bureau's system leaderboard. Offering worthless consolation prizes would be embarrassing. Suchingli smiled. She gave the wheel a spin, and it halted. Knitting skill card note. Upon use, you will master all forms of hand knitting. Not bad, host. Second draw. 1 crate of yarn balls note. 12 colored yarn set. Items knitted with this yarn will keep you very warm. Not half bad. The system commented. Third draw. Snack and nutrition gift pack note. White rabbit creamy candy, malted milk extract, canned fruit, enough to make neighboring children jealous. Oh wow, this is good stuff. Open it quickly, host. The system was even more eager than Suchingli. Suchingli opened the crate. Inside were 20 packs of milk powder, 6 tins of malted milk extract, 10 bags of white rabbit creamy candy, 10 tins of yellow peach canned fruit, and even a large packet of dried radish strips. Suchingli was very satisfied with this gift pack. She kept drawing. Fourth draw. Skin whitening pills note. All natural, zero side effect pills. After taking them, your skin will become fair and smooth like fine jade. Wow, host, you're amazing. These pills are highly sought after by many hosts. System, does the effect kick in right away? Suchingli asked. The original body already had fairly fair skin, with only faint, barely noticeable freckles across her face. Effects appear gradually. You may take them safely. Understood. Suchingli swallowed one of the white pills. It tasted just like milk candy. How strange that it tasted so good. Fifth draw. Body shaping supplement pills note. All natural, zero side effect supplements. They help you achieve an ideal figure that will not lose its shape over time. Su Qingli fell momentarily speechless. She thought her figure was fine already. How had she drawn this? Host, these supplements are really quite good. Since she had drawn it, she took it. It was white with a peach flavor. Sixth draw. Collection of coupons and ration tickets. Note: in the 1970s, life was hard without ration tickets. Don't worry, the system has you covered. The system had a sense of humor. Su Qingli glanced through them. Grain tickets, cloth tickets, bicycle tickets, pastry tickets, meat tickets, and many more, all with large denominations and valid nationwide. It was exactly what she needed. Her cloth tickets were almost used up, and now she had a fresh supply. Su Qingli was overjoyed. Seventh draw. German language skill card. Note: keep improving yourself in life. Mastering another language opens more doors. Host, keep up your hard work. Along with the skill card came 10 thick German textbooks. Wow, this is wonderful. This was the prize she had liked most so far. In her past life, Su Qingli had been a medical student who completed both her bachelor's and doctoral degrees. She had passed CET 6 and been among the top students. Still, in such a big country, there were countless outstanding people, and her achievements were nothing extraordinary. She had always admired people who spoke multiple languages. It seemed so impressive. She had never had the opportunity to learn foreign languages in her previous life. Now she had both the chance and the means. She wanted to work hard and become a gynecologist, obstetrician fluent in several languages. Host, your luck really is outstanding. Hehe. Su Qingli kept drawing. Eighth draw. French language skill card. Note: keep improving yourself in life. Mastering another language opens more doors. Host, keep up your hard work. 10 thick French textbooks came with the card. Su Qingli loved it. More language skill cards were always welcome. Ninth draw. Italian language skill card. Note: keep improving yourself in life. Mastering another language opens more doors. Host, keep up your hard work. 10 thick Italian textbooks were included as well. Haha system, have I stumbled into a stockpile of foreign language skill cards? 3 in a row. Host, don't you like them? Su Qingli shook her head. I like them very much. 10th and final draw. Su Qingli rubbed her hands, hoping for good fortune. 10 large barrels of spiritual spring water. Note: spiritual spring water from a cultivation realm. It beautifies skin and boosts physical health. Mortals must dilute it before drinking. Wow! Su Qingli was astonished. They were genuine large barrels, the biggest size available for mineral water bottles. System, you're truly wonderful. All these prizes are fantastic. Su Qingli meant every word. Her system really treated her well. Of course. You are my host. How could I treat you badly? The system sounded smug. Su Qingli smiled. She had already taken the whitening and body shaping supplements. Everything else went into her spatial storage. Beside her, little Gu Changwei slept soundly. Su Qingli got up and stepped quietly out of the room. She poured some spiritual spring water into the kitchen water vat. The system told her that 1 barrel diluted into their drinking water would last them roughly a month. 10 barrels would supply them for 10 months. Since it was still early, Su Qingli planned to take a short nap before going to collect more firewood in the afternoon. She intended to make full use of the 7-day period before turning to other matters. After waking from her nap, she sent little Gu Changwei over to Uncle Gu's house and headed for the mountain once more to gather firewood. Today had been lucky for her. Not only had she gotten the 10 consecutive draws in the lucky draw, she had also run into a foolish wild pheasant while collecting firewood on the mountain. She caught it easily. It would be their dinner, stewed pheasant. Su Qingli gathered more firewood until she thought she had enough. As the sky darkened, she prepared to head home and cook. Halfway down the mountain, she ran into Tang Wanru. Tang Wanru never spoke pleasantly. The moment she opened her mouth, her words were irritating. Well, if it isn't educated youth Su, why are you gathering firewood in person? Aren't you afraid of getting sun-tanned? Su Qingli curled her lips and replied, you've got food stuck in your teeth. What? Ignoring Tang Wanru's reaction, Su Qingli walked straight past her. Tang Wanru stood frozen. Her mind kept replaying Su Qingli's words. Had she really had leek stuck in her teeth after eating leek-filled buns at noon? Had she talked to Qin Jiang looking like that? Just imagining the scene made her feel awful. She hurried back to the educated youth quarters and grabbed a mirror. Finding no food stuck in her teeth, she breathed a sigh of relief. But then she wondered, why had Su Qingli said that if nothing was there? Tang Wanru could not figure it out and decided to ask someone else later. Back home, Su Qingli was in high spirits and hummed a tune as she walked. She boiled water to pluck the pheasant, chopped it up and set it aside. The pheasant was not very big, so she needed side dishes. She loved chicken stewed with potatoes, and chicken stewed with shiitake mushrooms was also nice. Chicken and potatoes went especially well with rice. She decided on chicken stewed with potatoes and started cooking rice. She missed having an electric rice cooker more than ever. When the dish was nearly ready, her brother-in-law Gu Chongsun came home from school. He sniffed the air in the kitchen. "Sister-in-law, are you stewing chicken?" "Yes. I caught a wild pheasant while gathering firewood this afternoon." Gu Chongsun said, "Sister-in-law, you're amazing. Next time you go up the mountain you should take a gun." "A gun?" "Right, father's hunting rifle. He used to hunt in the mountains and once even brought down a wild boar." Su Qingli nodded. She recalled that guns were not yet banned in this era. "That sounds good, but I don't know how to use one." Gu Chongsun said, "That's easy. When my elder brother comes home for the winter festival, he can teach you. His marksmanship is the best in his unit." A smile spread across Gu Chongsun's face as he spoke of his elder brother. Su Qingli smiled and agreed. She fetched a large bowl from the cabinet and filled it with chicken. "Chongsun, take this over for Uncle and Aunt Gu." There was not enough chicken for the whole family. This portion was meant just for Uncle Gu and his wife. "All right." Gu Chongsun carried the bowl to Uncle Gu's house. Most of the family were still working in the fields. Only Aunt Gu and her grandchildren were at home. Gu Chongsun handed her the bowl. "My sister-in-law caught a wild pheasant while gathering firewood on the mountain this afternoon. You should keep this for yourselves. Why bring it to us?" Aunt Gu said. Gu Chongsun smiled. "We have plenty. Sister-in-law wants you and uncle to have a taste." He added, "We're heading back now, Aunt." He took Gu Chongyue's hand and left. Aunt Gu called after him, "Tell your sister-in-law we've gathered enough duck eggs. She can come pick them up tomorrow." "Got it, Aunt." After Gu Chongsun left, Aunt Gu carried the bowl of chicken into their bedroom. The rich aroma drifted out, with golden chicken fat floating on top of the broth. It would taste wonderful mixed with rice or dipped with cornmeal buns. She decided not to share it with the grandchildren. This treat was for her and her husband, given to them by Su Qingli. Later, when everyone returned from the fields, Aunt Gu told Uncle Gu in private. Uncle Gu perked up at the news of stewed chicken. After the children had eaten and gone to bed, the couple sat down to enjoy the bowl of cold chicken. They ate it with hot cornmeal buns and hot water. Aunt Gu bit into a piece of chicken. It was delicious. Chonglin really married a good wife. Qingli is such a kind-hearted girl. Uncle Gu nodded in agreement. Aunt Gu went on. Qingli asked me to collect 100 duck eggs for her. Uncle Gu asked, 100 duck eggs? What does she want them for? She isn't planning to sell them on the black market, is she? Aunt Gu saw what he was thinking and laughed. Nothing like that. She wants to make salted duck eggs. Salted duck eggs? Don't they already have enough eggs to eat? Uncle Gu was surprised. He had heard from his grandchildren about Gu Chongsun's lunches at school. Fried eggs, meat, filled buns, sweet steamed cakes, egg pancakes, stuffed steamed buns, and sometimes braised pork with rice. On top of that, the children drank milk powder every day. Reportedly, both Gu Chongsun and Gu Chonghua had to have 1 egg and a cup of milk powder each day. Aunt Gu sighed. Qingli is a fine girl in every other way, but she spends money far too freely. If she keeps this up, even Chonglin's monthly military allowance won't cover her expenses. Uncle Gu agreed. Still, all the money she spent went on the 2 children. New cotton, padded coats, new undergarments, good food and drink. None of it was wasted on outsiders. Someone ought to talk to her, he said. No other family in this village raises children like this. You won't find many even in the county seat or the city. When she and Chonglin have their own children, and when Chongsun grows up and needs money to get married, where will the funds come from if she spends everything now? Aunt Gu thought to herself that she had tried bringing it up before, but Su Qingli always had sensible counter-arguments. Besides, she was only the child's paternal aunt, not her mother-in-law. It would not be proper for her to keep nagging. Let it be. Qingli is not a child. She must know what she is doing, and her family sends her money too. She placed the last piece of chicken in Uncle Gu's bowl. He tried to give it back. You eat it. No, you've worked hard out in the fields. You need nourishment. You have it. You also work hard looking after the whole household. Uncle Gu kept his head lowered. Aunt Gu accepted the piece and ate it. In the main house, elder brother Gu asked, I heard Qingli sent some chicken over for father and mother? His wife nodded. She caught a wild pheasant up on the mountain this afternoon. She added, Qingli is very filial. More so than us, she said. They, as son and daughter-in-law, had not been able to give their parents meat, yet Su Qingli, their nephew's wife, kept sending them good things. Elder brother Gu could not argue with that. Over in the second branch's quarters. Second sister-in-law Gu nudged her husband. Dear, once the farm work is done, why don't you take the gun and head up the mountain? Second brother Gu knew her too well. He could guess what she wanted as soon as she spoke. What, are you craving meat? Aunt Guer said crossly, aren't you craving it? I sure am. Second brother Gu paused, then added, I'm craving the meat you've got. Oh no, our daughter's still awake. Aunt Guer gave him a shove. Father, mother, I want meat too. Little Guyu opened her eyes at the worst possible moment. Over at the third branch's house. Aunt Gu-san grumbled, just look at Qingli. She sent only one bowl of meat. How is one bowl of meat enough for anyone? Third brother Gu patted her shoulder. All right now. That meat was fourth sister-in-law's gift for father and mother. If you really want some, once the autumn harvest is over, I'll head up the mountain to see what I can catch. I don't mind for myself. I just want some for Ting-Ting. It would be wonderful if we could bring down a wild boar, Aunt Gu-san mused. A wild boar was huge. Even if it was divided among all the families, each household could get 20 to 30 jin. Third brother Gu rolled over and muttered, wild boars are dangerous creatures. By the time Aunt Gu-san tried to speak again, third brother Gu was already snoring. 2 hours earlier. At Su Qingli's place. Sister-in-law, what do you need so many duck eggs for? Gu Chongsan asked during dinner. Su Qingli glanced up. I'm going to salt preserved duck eggs. Has Aunt finished gathering them all? She has. I thought you planned to sell them. Gu Chongsan stuffed a piece of chicken into his mouth. Pork tasted great, and chicken was delicious too. Any kind of meat was a treat. Su Qingli shook her head. Why bother selling them? We wouldn't make much money off just a few duck eggs anyway. It was too much trouble. If she didn't have the sign in system, she might have tried smuggling goods on the black market to earn money. But she had the sign in system. She earned 10 yuan simply by signing in every day. That added up to roughly 300 yuan a month. More than what Gu Chonglin earned. There was no need to go to all that trouble. If she wanted to earn money, she could pursue proper work, like becoming a doctor at a hospital. Still, she would have to wait until the villainous eldest brother came back to plan that out. Sister-in-law, do preserved duck eggs taste good? Little Gu Changwei suddenly lifted her head and asked. Su Qingli looked at her. They're amazing. The yolks turn rich and runny with oil. They taste perfect with congee in the morning. Beside them, Gu Chongsan swallowed hard. His sister-in-law's description sounded incredibly tempting. Once the three of them finished supper, they washed up and got ready for bed. It was nearly November, and the daylight hours were growing shorter. Back in her room, Su Qingli took out the German textbook provided by the system and started reading. Even though she owned a German proficiency skill card, she believed constant reading and practice would let her master the language and use it fluently. Learning was an endless journey. A person must keep studying and improving. Su Qingli read for almost 2 hours until her eyes began to ache. She put the book away and rubbed her temples. The village had no electricity, so she could only read by kerosene lamp. Host, the system suggests reading in the early morning. It is gentler on your eyes and more beneficial for foreign language acquisition. Su Qingli nodded. The system was right. She would get up an hour or 2 earlier each morning to study from now on. Reading late at night would strain her eyes badly. Su Qingli slept restlessly that night. She dreamed of Gu Chonglin, the villainous eldest brother. In the dream, he was injured and doctors were rushing to save him. She only woke up once the rescue succeeded and he was out of danger. She checked the system clock, 3 o'clock in the early morning. The villainous eldest brother had appeared in her dream. People said dreams came from constant thoughts, yet she hadn't been thinking about him lately. Calculating the timeline, Gu Chonglin would likely sustain his injury within these few days. Su Qingli took the dream as a warning from heaven. It meant the villainous eldest brother would be returning soon. She needed to stockpile supplies without delay. Su Qingli closed her eyes and slept for another 2 hours. When she woke, dawn was breaking and she rose to make breakfast. All the chicken from yesterday had been eaten without a scrap left. A small amount of rice remained, which she had intentionally cooked extra to turn into congee this morning. Today's breakfast: rice congee, white flatbread, stir, fried dried radish with minced meat, plus 3 boiled eggs. Perfect. Su Qingli loved this combination. The minced meat with dried radish tasted wonderful mixed into congee or rolled up inside flatbread. She started by simmering the congee and putting the eggs into boil alongside it. While the congee cooked, she mixed dough and divided it into equal-sized flatbread portions to set aside. Next, she chopped the dried radish into fine crumbs, minced pork belly, and diced ginger, garlic, and scallions. Once the congee was ready and ladled into bowls, she pan-fried the flatbreads, then cooked the side dish. The whole meal took Su Qingli 30 minutes to prepare. She thought she worked quite efficiently. Back in modern times, she could have finished everything in 20 minutes, with electric power, gas stoves, and multiple cooking pots available. Now she only had one pot to work with. Su Qingli made up her mind that she had to head to the county town in the next day or two. She would take out the sand pots, iron woks, clay stoves, iron griddles, aluminum kettles, and other items stored in her space. She also needed to retrieve a kitchen knife. The one they had at home was dull and hard to use. Su Qingli finished cooking at exactly 6 o'clock, just as her brother-in-law Gu Changsun woke up. She wondered if she could sleep in a little once his school break started. In her past life, she never got up at 5 o'clock even on workdays. But ever since she came here, she had to rise at 5 every single day. Su Qingli packed 2 rolled flatbreads and 1 boiled egg into his lunchbox, enough food for him. Her brother-in-law usually ate heartily in the morning and evening, only having a light snack at noon. Su Qingli went inside to wake little Gu Changwei, helping her dress, wash her face, and comb her hair. She could not be sure if it was her imagination, but after 10 days of decent meals, the little girl's hair seemed darker. She had gained a little flesh on her face too. Her skin was less sallow, possibly because Su Qingli put vanishing cream on her every day. She did not only apply it to her sister-in-law Gu Changwei, but also to Gu Changsun. The boy always claimed vanishing cream was something only girls used. Still, he obediently put it on under Su Qingli's firm reminder. Just like now. After finishing with Gu Changwei, she held up the cream jar and called Gu Changsun, and he understood immediately. Gu Changsun found it strange. His sister-in-law only occasionally let his sister use the cream before, but now she insisted he use it every morning and night. His classmates kept saying he always smelled nice. After washing up and eating breakfast, Gu Changsun left for school. Su Qingli took Gu Changwei to Great Uncle Gu's house. She had work to do today, preserving duck eggs. Duck eggs cost 8 fen each. Great Aunt Gu had collected more than 120 for her. Su Qingli handed over 10 yuan and told Great Aunt Gu to keep the extra 40 fen as payment for her trouble gathering the eggs. It was not much, but it was still money. Qingli, how do you preserve duck eggs? Do you just wash them and cover them with salt? Great Aunt Gu asked curiously. Qingli had told her well. Preserved duck eggs had oily runny yolks and lightly salted egg whites, perfect eaten with plain congee. Truth be told, Great Aunt Gu had never eaten preserved duck eggs before, only preserved chicken eggs. Preserved chicken eggs tasted terrible, overwhelmingly salty. She assumed duck eggs would turn out much the same once pickled. Hearing her question, Su Qingli smiled. Auntie, preserving duck eggs is simple in some ways, troublesome in others. Great Aunt Gu looked at her. What makes it simple, and what makes it troublesome? It becomes easy if you prepare all the ingredients, and difficult if you don't. Great Aunt Gu frowned in confusion. Why would you need extra ingredients for pickling duck eggs? Isn't salt enough? Su Qingli shook her head. She then explained the complete method for preserving duck eggs to Great Aunt Gu. Once she finished listening, Great Aunt Gu shook her head. Goodness, that's far too much work. Pickling duck eggs required liquor and all kinds of spices. Spices alone cost more than the duck eggs themselves. It does take effort, but the end result tastes amazing, Su Qingli replied. Preserved duck eggs really were delicious. She did not care for ballot, but she loved preserved duck eggs. Su Qingli chatted with Great Aunt Gu for a little while before heading home. Pickling duck eggs took quite a lot of time. She needed to get started right away. To preserve duck eggs, every egg had to be washed clean, set out to dry thoroughly, coated in strong liquor, then dried once more. The liquor Su Qingli used was Mengxilan, an expensive brand worth several hundred yuan a bottle, a gift from a colleague in her past life. Next, she boiled brine mixed with various spices. The seasoned brine had to cool completely before being poured into the earthen jar. Hot brine would cook the eggs straight away. She had a small vat at home ideal for pickling duck eggs. 120 duck eggs filled the vat perfectly. Su Qingli wondered if brine mixed with spiritual spring water would make the preserved duck eggs taste even better than ordinary ones. She would find out in a month's time. After finishing the duck eggs, Su Qingli swept the courtyard. Seeing there was still time, she went indoors and read the German textbook provided by the system again. She read until 11 o'clock, then began preparing lunch. People spent every day chasing their next meal. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. What should she cook for lunch? Su Qingli was tired of noodles, and cooking rice meant preparing side dishes. She decided to make egg pancakes. They were tasty and quick to prepare. The calendar was approaching November, and the lunar calendar was nearly October. The weather was turning cold. Mornings and evenings were especially chilly, cold enough to require cotton, padded jackets. Winter was coming. Su Qingli thought she should prepare fillings to make steamed buns and dumplings, which she could freeze and boil whenever she felt hungry. It would be very convenient. She also planned to make sticky bean buns. She had bought 100 jean of yellow millet flour, perfect for the job. Yellow millet flour could also be used to make fried cakes stuffed with red bean paste. She forced herself to stop thinking about food. Once the egg pancakes were ready, Su Qingli walked to Great Uncle Gu's house to fetch Gu Chongwei. It was the time workers finished their morning shift, and many family members were gathered inside the house. Su Qingli greeted everyone one by one. Great Aunt Gu saw her arrive and said, "Qingli, one set of clothes is finished. You can take it with you now." She walked into the inner room to fetch it. "The other set will take another week or so." Great Aunt Gu handed the clothes over. Su Qingli told her there was no rush. She had asked Great Aunt Gu to first make everyday clothes for the two children. The New Year outfits only needed to be finished before the Lunar New Year. There were still 2 months until New Year. Plenty of time. "I won't only be sewing your clothes this year. I plan to make a new cotton, padded jacket for every child in the family," Great Aunt Gu said. How many children were there? Eldest brother Gu had 3 children, second brother Gu had 3, and third brother Gu had 1. 7 children in total. More children meant more clothes to sew. Apart from Guyu and Gutingding, the rest were older, requiring plenty of cloth and cotton. Great Aunt Gu continued, "Speaking of which, Qingli, do you have any spare cotton tickets and cloth tickets? The allocation our family received isn't enough. I'll pay you back next year, Auntie." At this time, tickets were distributed by household or population. Each person received roughly 6 chi of cloth and 1 jean of cotton every year. But they lived in Heilongjiang province in the northeast, where winters were brutally cold. A winter quilt required at least 5 jean of cotton to keep warm. That was not even counting cotton, padded coats, and trousers. 1 jean of cotton was nowhere near sufficient. Making a set of cotton coat and trousers for 4-year-old Gu Changwei already took 1 jean of cotton. 10-year-old Gu Chongson needed 2 jean. The 16-year-old daughter of eldest brother Gu needed 3 jean for 1 set of clothes, and his second and third children each needed at least 2 jean. 7 jean for those 3 alone. Their family of 5 only received 5 jean of cotton tickets each year. Life was truly difficult for ordinary people in this era. "All right, Auntie. How much do you need?" Su Qingli had plenty of cotton tickets, more than 20 jins worth, as well as abundant cloth tickets, all rewards from the system. 5 jean of cotton and roughly 6 chi of cloth should suffice. Great Aunt Gu thought carefully before answering. Truthfully, her family had enough cotton tickets to make thinner cotton clothes for the children. What she really wanted was to make a new quilt for herself and her husband. Their current quilt had been used for almost 30 years, worn thin and useless. It offered no warmth at night. She and her husband were getting old. Falling ill in the cold would be hard to recover from. Su Qingli agreed. "Very well, Auntie. I'll bring them to you tomorrow." Back home, she helped Gu Changwei try on the new cotton, padded clothes. They fit perfectly. The little girl looked lovely in her red floral cotton jacket paired with black trousers. The new coat and trousers were complete, but her shoes were worn out. Great Aunt Gu said the shoes would take more time to finish. She prioritized sewing the jackets first. "Don't you look nice, Changwei?" Su Qingli lifted the little girl in front of a mirror. Gu Changwei stared at her reflection and smiled widely. "Sister-in-law, the new clothes are so pretty." Su Qingli pinched her cheek gently. "I mean you look pretty." All 3 Gu siblings had excellent looks. From what she remembered, Gu Chonglin had thick eyebrows, sharp features, a stern expression, and stood 187 centimeters tall. Such height was uncommon in this age. It was a mystery how he grew so tall amid widespread scarcity of food. Perhaps their late father often hunted wild game up the mountain to feed the children. Second brother Gu Chongsen was even more handsome. He possessed beautiful phoenix eyes, fair delicate skin, and well-defined lips. He had softer features than his elder brother Gu Chonglin and looked more refined. Su Qingli wondered what Gu Chongwei would look like when she grew up. Both elder brothers were handsome, and she herself had fine facial features despite slightly yellowish hair. Especially her big, shiny black eyes. She would undoubtedly grow into a beautiful girl. With such good natural features, she could hardly turn out unattractive later in life. Jiu Chongwei giggled. Sister-in-law is beautiful too. She leaned forward and kissed Su Qingli on the cheek. Su Qingli's heart melted. Young children were utterly adorable, she said. Tomorrow I'm going to the county town. I'll buy you pretty hair ornaments. Wonderful. Gu Changwei was overjoyed. That evening, Gu Chongsen returned home. Su Qingli asked him to try on his new cotton, padded jacket, which fit perfectly. Chongsen, wear this to school tomorrow. Take off your old jacket, Su Qingli told him. No, Gu Chongsen shook his head. I want to save this for the new year. There will be another set for New Year. This one is for daily wear. Besides, your old cotton jacket needs washing, Su Qingli chided him. Only then did Gu Chongsen agree to change out of his tattered coat. The next day, Su Qingli woke up early to cook breakfast. She fed the children and dropped Gu Chongwei off at Great Uncle Gu's house. Great Aunt Gu knew she was heading to the county town again and could not help lecturing her to spend money carefully. Su Qingli nodded obediently. I know, Auntie. I have everything planned. Great Aunt Gu thought to herself, you clearly do not. In just 1 month, you have spent nearly 30 yuan on all sorts of goods. Food, drink, clothing, you spare no expense. Su Qingli smiled and exchanged a few polite words with Great Aunt Gu. She handed over the cloth and cotton tickets, then hurried away. She had traveled to the county town 3 times within half a month. The ox cart driver looked surprised. Zhang Lin's wife, what are you buying this time? I need to post a letter to my family. Su Qingli made up a casual excuse. Uncle Lu nodded and stopped asking questions, starting to chat with another woman on the cart. The bumpy ride on the ox cart took 2 hours once again. When she reached the county town, she first went to the supply and marketing cooperative. Even if she did not intend to buy anything, it was wise to wander around for a while. As soon as Zhou Lily spotted her, she greeted her warmly. Qingli, over here. Su Qingli walked over with a smile. Zhou Lily said, you've come. What would you like to buy? The thermos flasks won't arrive for a few more days. Su Qingli nodded to show she understood. She would likely make another trip here next month. Are you here for meat or other supplies? If you want meat, just tell me. My father works as a butcher here. He can get you any cut you need. Zhou Lily grasped her hand enthusiastically. Clearly, the bar of soap Su Qingli had given her had left a deep impression. Su Qingli did not have much to purchase today. Her main goal was to find a chance to take out items stored in her space. Still, she could not leave empty-handed after coming all this way. She bought 2 enamel basins, the kind commonly used to store lard, 2 small ceramic jars for salt, and 4 enamel mugs. The mugs they owned at home were ancient and leaked. They had been using 1 mug for both drinking and brushing teeth. The old mug could be reserved for brushing teeth once the new ones arrived. As Su Qingli turned to leave, Zhou Lily called after her. Qingli, if you need anything, tell me ahead of time. I'll set it aside for you. Zhou Lily felt guilty only receiving a bar of soap without returning the favor. Yet all Su Qingli had asked her to reserve was a thermos flask, such a small favor. Thank you, Lily. I will definitely come to you. I won't stand on ceremony. After leaving the cooperative, Su Qingli wandered around the county town for a while. When she judged the time was right, she retrieved the items stored in her space and headed to the ox cart stop. She had brought a backpack basket. Inside were half a sack of honeycomb coal, a clay stove, a kettle, sand pots, as well as the pots and bowls she bought from the cooperative. She left the iron wok and kitchen knife inside her space, planning to take them out after arriving home. Bringing out so many bulky items all at once would draw unwanted attention. Even so, the other women on the cart asked what she had purchased. Su Qingli openly showed them her goods. There was no meat or grain among them, so she had nothing to hide. The older women were stunned. Sister-in-law Chonglin, where did you get this coal? Su Qingli lifted her eyelids. I have coupons. Wow, that's something. The women sighed, saying it was great to be married to a serviceman. Every month, he received over 20 yuan. He got allowances along with various supply coupons. One of the women said, If only my daughter could find a husband like Chonglin. Another replied, she'd have to look in the county town for that. Of course, whether young men with county jobs would take a fancy. Her daughter was another matter entirely. The women chatted nonstop, talking about sons-in-law, daughters-in-law, and meddling mothers-in-law, before moving on to the educated youth staying in the youth compound. Goodness, you haven't seen it. That youth Tang fusses over youth Chin nonstop. Offers him water when he's thirsty, brings him food when he's hungry. What? Are the two of them an item? Hardly. Youth Chin ignores Youth Tang. Youth Tang keeps reaching out only to get brushed off. Gossiping about others seemed to come naturally to people. The ox cart jolted along the road, their voices buzzing in her ears. Su Qingli half closed her eyes, feeling herself drifting off to sleep. They arrived home at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. She sorted out all her new purchases, honeycomb coal, an iron wok. She got an iron griddle, a kettle, and a clay pot. Then she took several large chunks of pork fat back and pork fat from her spatial storage. She planned to render lard before her brother-in-law came back and her young brother-in-law finished school. She cut the fat. She blanched small pieces, added ginger and green onions, and simmered them with water. Lard rendered this way turned out much whiter. Su Qingli filled 2 large enamel basins with lard. She put one in the cabinet and stored the other in her space. She said half. She saved crispy cracklings and chopped the rest into filling for dumplings, cabbage, and pork crackling dumplings. Su Qingli personally preferred sauerkraut and crackling dumplings, a classic, delicious combination, but she had no sauerkraut on hand. The batch she'd pickled wasn't ready yet. She settled for cabbage instead. Still, cabbage dumplings tasted wonderful. She rolled out wrappers and filled 2 large trays, roughly 100 dumplings in total, using up all her filling. Once she finished making dumplings, she tidied up her storage space. Noticing she had having red chili peppers, she decided to make garlic chili sauce, perfect for mixing with noodles or spreading on flatbread. By the time she finished all her chores, it was 5 in the afternoon, and Gu Chongsun came home from school. Su Qingli knew the time. She timed the dumplings to be ready. Sister-in-law, you made dumplings. Gu Chongsun's eyes lit up the moment he spotted the plump dumplings in the pot. Dumplings were a treat only enjoyed during the new year. Su Qingli hummed in response, scooping a plate. She handed it to him. Take these over to Uncle Gu's family and bring your sister back. Gu Chongsun agreed and hurried off with the plate. He reached Uncle Gu's house just as everyone returned from work. Everyone caught sight of the plate of dumplings. Gu Qingin, the second son of eldest brother Gu, swallowed hard. Little uncle, fourth aunt made dumplings? The twin boys of second brother Gu, Gu Ichu and Gu Shiwu, walked over as well, staring at the dumplings like hungry wolves eyeing prey. Gu Chongsun nodded. He rushed into the inner room, set the dumplings on the dining table, and said to Uncle Gu, Uncle, sister-in-law sent these over. Then he picked up Gu Chongwe, who was playing with a cricket on the floor, and quickly headed out the door. Aunt Gu carried. She brought a bowl of vegetables into the room and saw the dumplings on the table. They were piled on an enamel plate printed with double happiness, at least 30 of them. She assumed Qingli had sent them for her and her husband, yet she knew they would not eat them alone. All the children were watching intently. What are you all standing around for? Sit down and eat. Aunt Gu called out. Her sons, daughters-in-law, and grandchildren took their seats. The adults kept their heads down to eat. All the children's gazes stayed fixed on the dumpling plate. Aunt Gu sighed quietly to herself. She picked up the plate and started serving. She gave 2 dumplings to each child, starting with her youngest granddaughter Guyu. Counting every member, there were 15 people. After everyone received 2 dumplings, 2 remained on the plate. Aunt Gu put one into her own bowl and one into her husband's. The dumplings had been meant for them anyway. They deserved a little extra. What filling are these? She asked. Only then. Everyone picked up their chopsticks. Gu Shiwu, the younger twin of second brother Gu, took a bite. Grandma, it's pork crackling and cabbage. Eldest sister-in-law Gu said, Qingli must have managed to buy pork fat. Third sister-in-law Gu replied, there's almost nothing she can't get. She even dares go to that market. She was referring to the black market. The original host had gone once and accidentally mentioned it to the other sisters-in-law. Aunt Gu spoke up. Eat your meals now. Still, she could not help thinking the girl. She must have spent a great deal of money on her trip to the county town. Each person only had 2 dumplings, gone in 2 bites. Gu Tingting had an extra 2 in her bowl, given to her by third brother Gu and third sister-in-law Gu. They each ate only one themselves. Everyone secretly hoped that when the team distributed meat, they could make dumplings and eat until they were full. Back at Su Qingli's home, Gu Chongsun spotted the new clay stove, iron wok, clay pot, griddle, and coal. They were stacked in the room. He stared in surprise. "Sister-in-law, where did you get all these things?" Su Qingli smiled mysteriously. "Your sister-in-law has connections." She offered no further explanation. Gu Chongsun automatically assumed she had bought everything on the black market. He fell silent for a moment before speaking. "Sister-in-law, that place is dangerous. You ought to stay away." "I know," Su Qingli answered, not entirely sure which place he was talking about. "Sister-in-law, what's this for?" Gu Chongsun picked up the iron griddle. "We grill meat on it," Su Qingli said, adding, "Grilled meat tastes amazing." At those words, Gu Chongsun swallowed hard. Su Qingli stifled a laugh. No matter what a formidable figure he would grow into in the future, he was still just a boy. He salivated at the mention of meat. "When your elder brother comes home, I'll make grilled meat for all of you. Time to eat." She cooked 2 large plates, roughly 50 dumplings, enough for the 3 of them. Gu Changwei ate her dumplings plain. Gu Changsun added a little soy sauce. Su Qingli prepared a rich dipping sauce, soy sauce, vinegar, sugar, chili oil, minced cilantro, mashed garlic, plus a spoonful of broth from the dumpling pot. The flavor was incredible. In her past life, people joked. She ate dumplings as if having hot pot. They just did not understand how delicious this way was. Halfway through his meal, Gu Chongsun grew curious. "Sister-in-law, is your sauce spicy?" "Not overwhelmingly spicy." "Wanna try?" "Okay." She dipped 1 dumpling for him. He took a bite. "It's a little spicy and sour too." Gu Chongsun was not used to the flavor at first, yet after a few mouthfuls, he found it appealing. "Sister-in-law, can I dip another dumpling in your sauce? Shall I mix a small bowl just for you?" Gu Chongsun shook his head. "No need, I'll just dip from yours." Watching him, Gu Changwei grew curious as well and piped up in a childish voice. "Sister-in-law, I want to taste too. My sauce has chili. Little kids can't handle spicy food." "All right then," Gu Changwei said disappointedly. All 50 dumplings were finished. Seeing both children look stuffed, Su Qingli cut an apple for them to aid digestion. Gu Chongsun and Gu Changwei felt incredibly fortunate. They had eaten dumplings until full. Afterward, they enjoyed sweet, tangy apples. Some women from the production team had once said their elder brother would neglect them after getting married. That could not be further from the truth. Their sister-in-law treated them better than their own mother could have. Now that she had a kettle, iron cookware, and fuel, Su Qingli planned to stay home for the next 2 weeks. She needed to keep a low profile. She had stocked up plenty of firewood. Aside from daily cooking and cleaning, she had little to occupy her. Su Qingli decided to knit sweaters. She would make a sweater and a vest for each child, plus sets for herself and Gu Chonglin. After using a knitting skill card, her ability jumped straight from beginner to master knitter. She could craft any knitted item. She made sweaters to long underwear and worked at remarkable speed. She spent her mornings reading and her afternoons knitting. Within a week, Gu Chongyue's sweater and vest were finished. She tried them on and they fit perfectly. Gu Chongsun's pieces would take longer. As he was older, it took more time. Half a month later, Su Qingli completed Gu Chongsun's sweater and vest as well. Meanwhile, Aunt Gu finished the cotton-padded coats the children would wear for the new year. It was late November now. There was no farm work in the fields, and Aunt Gu no longer needed to cook for the whole team, leaving her with plenty of spare time. She brought the clothes over herself. Stepping inside, she saw the kettle bubbling away on the clay stove. She gasped. "Qingli, did you buy all these things during your trip to the county town? And you must be cold. Have a cup of brown sugar water to warm up." Su Qingli poured her a drink, then fetched the newly knitted sweaters. She brought them from the cabinet to show her. "Do you like them, Aunt?" "I knitted these." Aunt Gu picked up the sweaters. "For Chongwei and Chongsun?" "Yes. You work fast. You finished 2 sweaters in a month." She added, "They look lovely. They look even nicer than the ones I knit." Su Qingli smiled. "I also want to knit hats and scarves for Chongsun and Chongwei." Their conversation turned to other topics, and Aunt Gu stopped asking about the clay stove and coal. When she prepared to leave, Su Qingli went into the inner room and brought out 2 apples. They were not large or brightly colored, but they tasted sweet. She pressed them into Aunt Gu's arms. "Take these home for you and Uncle." Aunt Gu waved her hands. "No, keep them. We have plenty more. Please take them." Gu Chonglin would be returning soon, and they would often need help from Uncle Gu's family. It was wise to maintain good relations. If she treated the elderly couple well, her cousins would be willing to lend a hand. You are such a thoughtful girl. Once back home, Aunt Gu locked the apples in the cabinet, planning to eat them secretly with her husband after dark. Winter brought early sunsets. After dinner, everyone climbed into bed. Aunt Gu and Uncle Gu quietly bit apples. They ate under the covers. As they ate, Aunt Gu said she keeps honeycomb coal burning in her room, with a clay stove and a kettle too. Uncle Gu took a bite of apple. How much must all that cost? Aunt Gu held up 2 fingers. At least this much, meaning 20 yuan. On top of all the meat she had bought. She also knitted brand new sweaters and vests for the children. Aunt Gu truly thought her nephew's wife had few flaws, aside from occasionally spending money freely. Still, she spent her husband's wages and sometimes her own savings. Others had no grounds to criticize. The couple finished the apples and settled down to sleep. Back in Su Qingli's house, she prepared to draw a lottery. She had completed a month. She earned her chance from daily check-ins. She wondered what prize awaited her. Su Qingli spun the wheel. Ding! After a few seconds, it came to a stop, revealing her reward. 2,000 yuan in cash. Note: money cannot solve everything, yet life is hard without it. 210 yuan notes bundled together. System: has any previous host ever fallen for you? Su Qingli stared at the stack of money and asked with a grin. The system replied solemnly. There have been some. I explained that humans and systems are different. Such connections are not possible. They were quite upset to hear it. Su Qingli, is that so? Now I feel a little upset too. With the 2,000 yuan from the lottery, 300 yuan accumulated from daily check-ins, the original host's savings, and regular remittances. From Gu Chonglin, she had roughly 2,700 yuan. In this era, nearly 3,000 yuan made her a wealthy woman. Su Qingli happily stored the cash inside her spatial storage. That night, Su Qingli dreamed again of the man who would become the antagonist. He leaned against a hospital bed, looking deeply lonely. More than 20 days had passed since her last dream of him. Seeing him once more filled her with unease. He would likely return very soon. She needed to make another trip to the county town. The next morning, Su Qingli sent Gu Changwei over to Uncle Gu's home and boarded the ox cart bound for the county seat. Aunt Gu no longer tried to dissuade her from going. The young woman could make her own choices. As the new year drew near, crowds flooded the county town to buy supplies. The supply and marketing cooperative was packed so tightly people could barely move. Su Qingli used her strength to push through the throng and get inside. Zhou Lily was swamped with customers. When she spotted Su Qingli, she greeted her at once. Qingli, I haven't seen you in ages. I set aside a thermos flask for you. Thank you, Lily. Please get 4 more hot water bags for me. Su Qingli suspected wine seeped through the walls of her house. She often woke up cold at night. Her head was chilly. Perhaps her king platform was not heated well enough. She had stocked up on dry twigs for firewood, but no sturdy logs. She planned to head up the mountains in the coming days. Twigs worked fine for cooking, but thick logs burned far longer for heating the kang and boiling water. Qingli, would you like some pork? I can get 2 jin of fatty cuts for you, Zhou Lily whispered as she handed over the thermos and hot water bags. Su Qingli accepted it. Yes, please. When she left the cooperative, she carried 2 jin of pork, 1 thermos flask, 4 hot water bags, and 12 chi of cloth. She planned to sew a cotton-padded coat for Gu Chonglin. She had no idea if he brought warm clothes with him. She would prepare one just in case. Apart from the goods purchased at the cooperative, Su Qingli took 30 jin of sweet potatoes, 10 jin of yellow millet flour, 10 jin of glutinous rice flour, 10 jin each of red beans and mixed grains from her storage. She would use the millet and glutinous rice flour to make sticky bean buns, fried cakes, and tangwan. Red beans would be turned into sweet bean paste, and the mixed grains saved for Laba festival porridge. Sweet potatoes could be roasted for a simple, tasty treat. She would retrieve more meat after returning home. Su Qingli asked the system to bundle all the goods from her storage into one large sack. If anyone asked, she would say her master and mistress had sent the package. After sorting everything, she carried her wicker basket to the ox cart stop. The cart driver stamped his feet against the bitter cold. 5 people were traveling back to the village that morning, including 2 unfamiliar educated youths, Aunt Wang Hohat, the second cousin's mother-in-law, and a young bride Su Qingli barely knew. The young bride had held her wedding half a month after Su Qingli crossed into this world. The original host had attended the ceremony with Aunt Gu. Aunt Hohat and the young bride were already waiting by the cart. The two educated youths had not yet returned. That's a huge sack, Qingli. Did your family send you more supplies? Aunt Hohat asked at the sight. Su Qingli nodded and glanced at her basket. What did you buy, Aunt? Aunt Hohat smiled. Nothing much, just 2 jean of sponge cake. The children have been craving it. Her basket was almost as full as Su Qingli's. Clearly she had come to stock up for the new year. Su Qingli did not press for more details. Ugh, beside them, the quiet young bride suddenly gagged. Both Wang Hohat and Su Qingli turned to look. The bride was Lu Xiaoling. She waved a hand. I'm fine. My stomach feels off. I probably shouldn't have skipped breakfast. Her mother-in-law said breakfast need not be prepared early in winter. Cooking started at 7, and they would eat around 8 or 9. She had left for the county town on an empty stomach. As an experienced married woman, Aunt Hohat sensed something was amiss. Xiaoling, could you be expecting a child? What? Lu Xiaoling's face flushed under her scarf. Su Qingli reached the same conclusion. I studied medicine for 4 years. Let me feel your pulse. Her words astonished Aunt Hohat. Lu Xiaoling nodded and held out her wrist. Su Qingli felt her pulse, then pulled her hand away. Both women stared at her expectantly. You are pregnant, she said. Really? Lu Xiaoling asked excitedly. Su Qingli nodded. It's true. Once you get home, you can ask Dr. Liang to confirm. Dr. Liang was the barefoot doctor of Qingshan production team, treating minor ailments and checking pregnancies for village women. In those days, most women could tell they were with child without seeing a doctor. My goodness, Qingli. I never knew you had such skill. Wang Hohat was utterly shocked. She had always thought Su Qingli was merely an educated youth sent down to the countryside. She never imagined she knew medicine. Still, she could not help wondering, if she had trained as a doctor, why had she been sent to the village instead of working in a hospital? Straightforward by nature, she voiced her question. Su Qingli explained. My stepmother sabotaged me. I was on track to secure a position in a hospital. That wicked woman. Are all these packages from your father? Su Qingli shook her head. Aunt, haven't you heard the saying? Once there is a stepmother, there is a stepfather. My master and mistress sent these supplies. The last parcel came from them too. Aunt Hohat's gaze softened with sympathy. Poor girl. Don't you have any other relatives? An uncle or aunt? An uncle. The original host did have one, but he was overseas. The original host's maternal family came from a musical background and had been reasonably well off, marking them as targets during the political campaigns of the era. Fortunately, her maternal grandparents had passed away before the worst of the turmoil and escaped suffering. Her uncle had received advance warning and fled abroad with all the family assets. The original host's mother had married far away and avoided trouble as well. I have an uncle, but he lives in Haishur. We haven't been in touch for years, Su Qingli said, her tone somber. Aunt Hohat jumped to her own conclusion. She assumed her uncle's wife refused to support her husband's orphan niece, leading them to cut off all contact. Aunt Hohat patted Su Qingli on the shoulder to comfort her. Don't worry, child. Chonglin is a good man. And you know medical skills yourself. Maybe someday you can become a doctor in the county. If the two of you live well together, you won't be worse off than anyone else. Su Qingli replied, I know, Auntie. Good girl. Aunt Hohat said. About 20 minutes later, the two educated youths came back loaded with big bags and parcels. Their families must have sent them supplies. Making a living far away from home was never easy, whether in modern times or right now. 2 hours later, they arrived home. Su Qingli carried the sweet potatoes into her room and added another 20 jean to the pile, making 50 jean in total. That would last them through the winter. She still had 150 jeans stored in her spatial space, enough for another 3 years. She wouldn't need any more yellow millet flour or glutinous rice flour. The 20 jeans she had was sufficient. After sorting out all the grains, she took 10 jean of pork ribs, 10 jean of pork belly, 10 jean of large leg bones, 10 jean of lean meat, along with pork kidneys, intestines, pork liver, pork hearts. For pork trotters and 1 pork head out of her spatial space. She chopped up the bones and set them outside. They froze solid in no time. Su Qingli packed all the meat into a small vat and placed it in the backyard, using nature as a giant refrigerator. Once she finished all that work, she took 5 jean of glutinous rice flour and 5 jean of sweet potatoes to Uncle Gu's house. Yellow millet flour was easy to get in Heilongjiang, but glutinous rice flour was quite rare, so glutinous rice products would make a suitable gift. The children could roast the sweet potatoes. They tasted wonderfully sweet. As soon as she stepped inside, she saw the house full of people, the three eldest cousins, their three wives, plus Guyu, Gu Tingting and Gu Chongwei, the three children. Aunt Gu was sitting in front of her sewing machine making clothes. Qingli, you're back from the county? Eldest sister-in-law Gu greeted her when she saw her. Su Qingli nodded. Third sister-in-law Gu asked, what did you buy when you went to the county this time? I didn't buy much. My family sent me things, so I went to collect them. She handed the items she was carrying to eldest sister-in-law Gu. What's this? Eldest sister-in-law Gu opened the package. What kind of flour is this? She recognized the sweet potatoes, but this white powder was not ordinary wheat flour, and she could not tell what it was. It's glutinous rice flour. You can use it to make sticky bean buns and tangwan. They taste great, similar to the yellow millet flour we have here. I see. Eldest sister-in-law Gu carried the things into the kitchen. Su Qingli greeted the three cousins and handed a handful of fruit candies to the children. Then she brought over the cloth and cotton to Aunt Gu. Auntie, I need to trouble you to sew another coat. It's for Chonglin. Hearing this, second cousin Gu spoke up. Sister-in-law, you don't need to make clothes for Changlin. The army provides uniforms for them. Su Qingli said, they do issue uniforms, but he can't only wear that one set when he comes home for the new year. That's true, second cousin Gu scratched his head. Leave it here. I promise to finish the cotton, padded coat before the new year, Aunt Gu said with a smile. Su Qingli immediately became attentive. Auntie, you've worked so hard. Are you tired? Would you like me to massage your shoulders? Aunt Gu had been sewing all morning and was indeed worn out. She asked eldest sister-in-law Gu to take over the machine and sat down to the side. Su Qingli naturally stood behind her and began the massage. Auntie, I'm telling you, my shoulder massages feel amazing. Massage was a skill she had brought with her from her previous life. Back then, she often suffered aching shoulders and waist from overwork. Once she tried a professional massage, and it opened up a whole new world for her. She went for full body massages nearly every month after that. Later, she spent 2 summer vacations learning massage techniques. Since she studied medicine and knew a little about acupoints, she picked it up quickly. Ouch! The moment Su Qingli's hands touched her, Aunt Gu yelped. Go easy, that hurts. Everyone in the room was startled. Apart from the children, all the adults watched Su Qingli and Aunt Gu closely as she kept massaging. Auntie, pain means blockages. When the channels flow freely, there is no pain. Still, she lightened the pressure a little, working on her shoulders, waist, neck, and head. Aunt Gu started out wincing in pain, but slowly grew comfortable. She nearly drifted off to sleep halfway through. Wow, Qingli, it's incredible. My back doesn't ache anymore, and my shoulders feel much better. Aunt Gu moved her shoulders around. Su Qingli smiled. Of course. I can massage your feet for you sometime. Seeing how relaxed Aunt Gu looked after the massage, second sister-in-law Gu asked, Mother, is it really that nice? Aunt Gu replied, extremely pleasant. I almost fell asleep. Noticing second sister-in-law Gu was eager to try, Su Qingli asked, second sister-in-law, would you like a massage too? Second sister-in-law Gu hesitated. Won't your hands get tired? Not at all. Come on, don't stand on ceremony. Su Qingli guided second sister-in-law Gu onto a stool and started massaging. Second sister-in-law Gu did not shout as loudly, but she still commented, you look slender, yet you have such strong hands. Su Qingli said, I was just born with strength. After the massage, second sister-in-law Gu looked thoroughly relaxed. Why do I feel sleepy now? That's your body unwinding. Aunt Gu kept telling Uncle Gu how wonderful the massage was. Uncle Gu wanted Su Qingli to massage him as well. But as an elder male, it would not be proper to ask, so he said nothing. Su Qingli stayed a while longer before heading home with little Gu Chongwei. She and the child each ate a steamed bun and drank a cup of milk powder to fill their stomachs, then planned to take an afternoon nap. The trip into town had worn her out completely. They slept until 4 o'clock in the afternoon when they woke up. It was almost time for dinner again. Su Qingli craved meat, so she stewed large pork bones with nothing added, just plain bones. She cooked 6 pieces. They would have rice as the staple food. A hearty meat meal needed something to drink. Su Qingli boiled red date ginger tea in a clay pot. A cup of warm ginger tea in winter warmed the stomach and replenished energy. In the late afternoon, Gu Changsun came home from school and said they would soon have their winter break and were preparing for final exams. Su Qingli told him, "I know you have exams coming up, so I stewed bones to nourish you." Gu Changsun smiled shyly and said, "Sister-in-law, I'll get first place for you. I believe in you. Eat quickly." Her young brother-in-law always ranked first in his class and the whole grade. He was an outstanding student. It was no wonder that even in the harsh circumstances of her previous life, he managed to get into one of the top universities in the capital and later worked in the customs office. Unfortunately, he had taken the wrong path and got involved in illegal activities such as smuggling and drug trafficking. Su Qingli watched the brother and sister happily gnawing on pork bones. She resolved that things would be different in this life. She would guide them onto the right path. If everything went well, she could live her dream of being a landlady, and everyone would thrive. All three finished their meal feeling full. Su Qingli opened a can of yellow peaches and shared it between them. The system had rewarded her with 10 cans in total, and only 5 remained now, enough to last roughly another month. She thought that next time she went to the supply and marketing cooperative, she would buy cans of hawthorn fruit. Hawthorn cans tasted lovely, especially the sweet and sour syrup. She loved drinking it. Before bed, she filled 2 hot water bottles and put them at the foot of the children's quilts to keep their feet warm as they slept. Over at Uncle Gu's house, after washing up and climbing onto the heated Kong, Uncle Gu turned to Aunt Gu. "Old woman, can you massage me a little?" Aunt Gu had seen he wanted one for a while and nodded. "Sure, sit straight." She began massaging him. She put all her strength into it, making Uncle Gu cry out. Aunt Gu laughed behind him. "What did Qingli say? Pain means blockages. When the channels flow freely, there is no pain. I told you it hurts at first, but it gets better. Bear with it, old man." Aunt Gu had a good memory. She had remembered about 60% of Su Qingli's massage techniques. After a while, Uncle Gu lay down on his stomach on the kang. Weary from the massage, he fell fast asleep. The same scene unfolded in eldest cousin Gu's room. Eldest cousin Gu massaged eldest sister-in-law Gu, who directed him. "Here, work this spot." Eldest cousin Gu grumbled, "You could ask Qingli. She's a professional." Eldest sister-in-law Gu shook her head. "I couldn't trouble her like that. Keep going and I'll massage you tomorrow night." "Got it. Lie back and relax." Eldest cousin Gu readily obeyed. "Such a fool," eldest sister-in-law Gu chuckled softly. In second cousin Gu's room, second sister-in-law Gu massaged her husband. Standing 170 centimeters tall, she had a sturdy build and plenty of strength. Her strength caused second cousin Gu to yelp repeatedly. "Wife, go easy. Slow down." Second cousin's room was right next to third cousin's, so sounds traveled easily between them. Hearing the shouts, third cousin misinterpreted the situation and blushed. He wondered whether he should knock on the wall to remind them to keep quiet. They already had 3 children. Could they not be more restrained? Third sister-in-law Gu looked at him. "What are you listening to over there? Come and rub my shoulders." "Oh, right away." Soon, third cousin was also massaging his wife. "Take it easy. Slow down." The next day, after breakfast, Su Qingli started making sticky bean buns. She had soaked the red beans the night before. First, she boiled the beans in a clay pot and then prepared the dough. She planned to make sticky bean buns from both yellow millet flour and glutinous rice flour, as well as fried cakes using both types of flour. She also intended to make tangyuan. As someone from northern China, tangyuan had to be filled with black sesame paste. She simmered the red beans until they turned mushy, drained off the water, added white sugar and a little honey, then fried them into red bean paste and rolled the paste into evenly sized balls. Wrapping the paste with yellow millet dough or glutinous rice dough produced sticky bean buns. Fried cakes were made the same way. Su Qingli spent the whole morning cooking. She made roughly 200 sticky bean buns, 50 fried cakes, and more than 100 tangyuan. All the sticky bean buns were set outside to freeze. Once frozen, she packed them into a large vat for storage. She set aside 20 fried cakes and put the remaining 30 inside her spatial space. All the tangyuan went into her spatial space as well. Besides tangyuan, fried cakes, and sticky bean buns, Su Qingli planned to make dumplings to freeze. The cabbage dumplings she had made earlier were all eaten up. She was lazy in the mornings and preferred having ready-made dumplings she could simply boil. Her pickled Chinese cabbage was ready, so she decided to make 2 fillings, pickled cabbage with pork cracklings and cabbage with pork. First, she rendered lard from 2 jean of fatty pork Joe Lily had given her. Together with leftover cracklings, she had enough for the filling. After rendering the fat, she took out her jar of pickled cabbage. She had only ever pickled cabbage in mineral water bottles before, never in a large crock. She wondered how it would turn out. Still, the sour aroma smelled authentic, and the cabbage was golden yellow. It seemed her pickling had succeeded. She washed and chopped the pickled cabbage and pork cracklings, mixed them with ginger, garlic, and scallions. After tasting, she confirmed the filling was delicious. She really had a talent for cooking. Once the pickled cabbage filling was ready, she chopped cabbage for the second filling. She prepared a large basin of each filling. Then she mixed dough and rolled out dumpling wrappers, folding dumpling after another until her hands ached. She made more than 500 dumplings in total. Half went into her spatial space, and the rest were frozen outside before being stored in the vat. Her stock of preserved food was nearly complete. By the time she finished making dumplings, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon, time to cook dinner again. But she was exhausted and had no wish to cook. She would eat ready-made food. Dinner would be sticky bean buns, fried cakes, roasted sweet potatoes, and millet congee. She also had pickled vegetables and salted duck eggs ready to eat. They had been eating pickled eggplants for the past month, and the jar was nearly empty. The pickled vegetables would be a perfect replacement. Su Qingli walked into the inner room, opened the jar of pickled vegetables, and took out a piece to taste. It was tasty, sour, and refreshing. She took out several salted duck eggs to boil. She was more eager to try the salted duck eggs. She wondered how they would taste after being brined with spiritual spring water. Would the yolks ooze oil? She stood by the pot watching the eggs boil. She cooked 20 in total. 10 would be sent to Uncle Goo's family. Boiled in hot water, they were ready after roughly 10 minutes. Su Qingli fished them out. She cut one open immediately. The yolk was rich and oily. She took a bite. The saltiness was just right. It was delicious. Her brining had worked perfectly. Su Qingli checked the clock. It was almost 6 o'clock. Gu Changsun should have been home by now. He usually arrived around 5:40. She began to worry that something might have happened. She was about to head out to look for him when the door opened. Gu Changsun walked in with his school bag slung over his shoulder, carrying a big white rabbit. His clothes were dirty, and there was a scrape on his cheek. "Sister-in-law, I caught a rabbit." Gu Changsun held up the rabbit proudly. Su Qingli took the rabbit, then pointed at his face. "Did you get hurt trying to catch this rabbit?" "No. I fought with Ergu." Su Qingli was shocked. "Why did you fight?" Anger laced Gu Changsun's voice. "I caught the rabbit fair and square, but he claimed he saw it first and demanded I hand it over to him." "So you started fighting?" Su Qingli asked. Gu Changsun nodded. Ergu was awful. He said Su Qingli fed Gu Changsun meat and fine flour every day, so Gu Changsun ought to give the rabbit to him. Why should he? His sister-in-law cooked nice food for him because she cared about him. That had nothing to do with Ergu. Besides, Gu Changsun had spotted and caught the rabbit first. He would never hand it over. "All right, I understand what happened. Go wash up. Dinner will be ready soon," Su Qingli said. Gu Changsun pressed his lips together. "Sister-in-law, when you cook the rabbit, can you ask Qingyun and the others to come eat? They helped me during the fight." Su Qingli smiled. "Of course." Gu Changsun went to wash himself. Su Qingli walked into the inner room, took out iodine and cotton balls from her spatial space, and told Gu Changsun to sit down so she could clean his wounds. Gu Changsun obediently sat on a stool. He had a graze on his forehead from falling onto gravel, and a bruise on his lip where Ergu had punched him. No other injuries were visible. It seemed neither boy had been badly hurt. "All done. Stay at home. I'm going to Uncle Gu's to fetch Chongwe." Su Qingli put away the medicine. Gu Changsun nodded. Su Qingli took the 10 salted duck eggs to Uncle Gu's home. They were just about to start their meal. "I arrived just in time. The salted duck eggs are ready. I brought some for everyone to try." She handed them to eldest sister-in-law Gu. When there was no farm work to do, the 3 sisters-in-law of the Gu family took turns cooking. Eldest sister-in-law Gu managed the household grain supplies. Aunt Gu told eldest sister-in-law Gu cut all of them open. Su Qingli glanced at Qingyun, Ichu, and Shiwu. None of the children had any injuries on their faces, and neither eldest sister-in-law Gu nor Aunt Gu seemed aware of the fight. Since they were about to eat, she did not stay long. She exchanged a few words, then carried little Gu Changwei home. When they got back, Gu Changsun asked, "Sister-in-law, are we having sticky bean buns tonight?" Yes. Sister, what are sticky bean buns? Gu Changwei asked in a soft, childish voice. They are soft, sweet, and glutinous steamed cakes, Su Qingli tried to explain. She only steamed 12 sticky bean buns. Along with salted duck eggs, millet congee, and roasted sweet potatoes, it would be enough for the three of them. Su Qingli had barely set the food on the table when footsteps echoed in the yard. She told the two children to stay inside while she went to check. Who would come to their house at this hour? Chang Lin's wife. Open the door. Someone banged on the gate. The voice sounded familiar. Gu Changsun said, Sister-in-law, it's Erga's mother. Erga's mother? What was she doing here? Had she come to argue over the fight? Stay inside, don't come out, Su Qingli told them. She grabbed a thick wooden stick from the kitchen, hid it behind her back, opened the outer gate, and stepped outside, quickly closing the door behind her. She looked up at her visitors. Only two people stood there, Ergu and his mother. Su Qingli relaxed slightly. Before she could speak, Wu Chuanxia, Ergu's mother, shouted loudly. Chang Lin's wife. Look what your brother-in-law did to my son. She pulled Erga forward. The moon was bright enough to see clearly without lighting a lamp. Erga had a black eye, and his left cheek was swollen. He had taken quite a beating. Wu Chuanxia, do you know why the boys fought? Su Qingli asked. Wu Chuanxia let out a cold snort. Of course I know. Your brother-in-law stole my son's rabbit and beat him up. Su Qingli, listen to me. You must give us that rabbit today, plus 200 yuan for medical fees. My son keeps complaining his eye hurts. We need to take him to the county hospital for treatment. Wu Chuanxia folded her arms and stared at Su Qingli scornfully. 200 yuan for medical fees? You might as well rob someone. Su Qingli let out a cold laugh. She had hoped to settle this peacefully, but the other side refused to compromise. She brought the stick from behind her back and tapped it lightly. I won't give you a single cent, let alone 200 yuan. If you refuse to accept this, go find the village secretary or report this to the Public Security Bureau. I will not pay any compensation. With a sharp crack, she snapped the wooden stick in half. Wu Chuanxia had been ready to launch into a torrent of complaints, but the words died in her throat. You, just wait. She dragged Ergu away quickly. Su Qingli was not sure whether she planned to gather more people or go straight to the village secretary. Su Qingli turned and headed back into the house, nearly colliding with Gu Changsun. She was startled. What are you standing here for? I was ready to come out and help if a fight broke out. There won't be any fighting. Hurry inside and eat. Su Qingli pushed him in and bolted the door. Changsun, after dinner go to Uncle Gu's house and ask cousin Jianya and the others to come over. If Wu Chuanxia returned with a group of people, Su Qingli was the only adult at home with two small children. While she was strong, she could not handle multiple attackers all at once. After all, even a strong fighter cannot stand against a mob. Realizing what his sister-in-law meant, Gu Changsun quickly finished his meal and headed over to Uncle Gu's house to get help. Su Qingli's guess turned out to be spot on. Wu Chuanxia had indeed gone to round up people, and she'd even sought out the village party secretary. Wu Chuanxia had discussed the plan with her parents, in-law, and husband. They decided to start with an outrageous demand, asking Su Qingli for 200 yuan to cover medical expenses. If she could not pay that amount, they would slowly lower their asking price. In their eyes, Su Qingli was a quiet, meek young woman. Otherwise, she would not have been pressured into marriage after being rescued by a man, without putting up any resistance. Everyone thought Gu Changlin had made a decent match, but who wanted to marry someone who came saddled with a younger brother-in-law and sister-in-law? They were nothing but burdens. They were certain Su Qingli would not dare refuse, so they sent Wu Chuanxia to negotiate. To their surprise, Su Qingli was far tougher than they expected. She was not willing to hand over a single cent, let alone 200 yuan. No one knew exactly what Gu Changsun had said when he visited Uncle Gu's home, but soon Uncle Gu, Aunt Gu, along with eldest brother Gu, second brother Gu, and third brother Gu all arrived. Aunt Gu raised her voice. Does the Gu family have no one left? How dare they bully your family? Eldest brother Gu let out a cold snort. If they dare show up, I will have a proper talk with them. He cracked his knuckles as he spoke. Su Qingli exchanged a glance with Gu Changsun, wondering what he had told their relatives. Gu Changsun winked back at her. Uncle, aunt, brothers, please take a seat. Su Qingli poured each person a cup of hot brown sugar water, then recounted the whole incident. Aunt Gu waved her hand. We already know the general story from Qing Yun and the others, Qingli. Erguzi threw the first punch. Changsun only fought back. That was exactly what had happened. Erguzi had tried to snatch the rabbit Gu Chongson caught. When Gu Chongson refused to hand it over, Erguzi punched him straight away. The two boys began fighting. Erguzi was 2 years older, taller, and sturdier than Gu Chongson, so Gu Changson was soon at a disadvantage. But Erguzi was alone. Gu Chongson had Gu Qing'an, Gu Chuyi, and Gu Shiwu on his side. As nephews, they could not stand by and watch their young uncle get beaten. The three rushed in to help. Wanting to get revenge for the punch he had taken, Gu Chongson swung his fist and hit Erguzi right in the eye, leaving a dark bruise. Speak of the devil. The group had barely sipped their brown sugar water when Wu Chuanxia arrived with her parents, in-law, husband, son, and the village party secretary. Su Qingli thought to herself, what an entourage they had brought. Were the Zhang family dead set on extorting money from her? With Uncle Gu and Aunt Gu present, Su Qingli did not need to greet the guests. Her relatives smiled and invited Secretary Li and the Zhang family inside. Erguzi's formal name was Zhang Sheng. His father was Zheng Chang, his grandfather Zheng Shuzhen, and his mother Qian Xiufan. The whole family had turned up. Erguzi even made teasing faces at Gu Chongson. He was such an insolent boy. Secretary Li, I don't know what version of events they told you, but the truth is this, that rabbit was caught by our Changson. Aunt Gu quickly explained everything. Su Qingli poured a cup of brown sugar water for Secretary Li. Thank you for coming all this way, Uncle Li. It's freezing outside. Secretary Li took the cup and took a sip. He had already gone to bed when the Zhang family begged him to mediate, offering 5 eggs to persuade him to come. 5 eggs made the trip seem worthwhile. You're lying. Qian Xiufan, Erguzi's grandmother, cut in. Erguzi said he spotted the rabbit first. He was about to catch it when Gu Chongson grabbed it. She grumbled to herself. What was Gu Changlin's wife playing at, serving brown sugar water to the village secretary, but not them? She would squeeze a good sum of money out of her soon, or her surname would not be Qian. Erguzi, you're lying. I saw the rabbit first and I caught it. Gu Chongson was furious. What right did Erguzi have to claim the rabbit just because they happened to walk along the same road when he caught it? How shameless. Emboldened by his family's presence, Erguzi shouted, I saw the rabbit first. The shouting gave Secretary Li a headache. He called the two boys over to question them. You speak first. Gu Changson described every detail of how he found the rabbit and how the fight broke out. Secretary Li nodded and turned to Erguzi. Now tell me your side. Erguzi hesitated, his eyes darting everywhere, unable to tell a coherent story. Secretary Li already knew who was in the wrong. At that moment, Zheng Chang, Erguzi's father, who had remained quiet until then, spoke up. Secretary Li, the rabbit is not the main issue. My son's injured eye is. Whatever happened, there is no denying that your Gu Chongson hit my boy. Eldest brother Gu disagreed immediately. Zhang Chang, that is nonsense. How can you say the truth does not matter? Your son tried to steal the rabbit and struck our youngest brother first, only then did Changson defend himself. Look at Changson's forehead, his split lip. We don't know if scars will form. If they do, he will look unsightly and struggle to find a wife in the future. We haven't even come to you seeking compensation, yet you march over here. Since you are all here, we can settle everything together. He needs good scar ointment. I won't ask for 200 yuan. Give us 50 yuan up front to buy medicine. Eldest brother Gu spoke without pausing, leaving Zhang Chang no chance to reply. Then Su Qingli stepped forward. That's right. Changson has been complaining of dizziness and headaches. I worry your son may have given him a concussion. I was planning to take him to the county hospital for an examination tomorrow. I don't know how well Erguzi performs in school, but our Changson earns top marks every year. He hopes to attend a worker, peasant, soldier university one day. If a concussion ruins his chances, how will you compensate for such a loss? 200 yuan would not nearly cover it. You would owe us far more. She walked over to stand beside Gu Chongson. Chongson, take half a day off tomorrow. Come with me to the county hospital. If it really is a concussion, we need treatment straight away. Gu Chongson obediently nodded. Suddenly, Uncle Gu looked stirred by a thought and raised his voice. These 3 children lost their parents, but they still have me as their uncle. Do not think you can bully them. And you have us, their elder brothers, the 3 elder Gu brothers said in unison. Zhang Chang and his family stammered, lost for words. Then Qian Xiufan, Erguzi's grandmother, plopped down onto the ground and threw a tantrum. I don't care. You must pay our medical bills. Su Qingli was not intimidated by such petty tactics. She stared coldly at Wu Chuanxia and her family. Very well. Tomorrow morning we will all go to the hospital. I will pay for your son's medical fees, and you will pay for Chongsun's treatment. Secretary Lee approved of this solution. That is how we will settle it. We refuse to pay. Why should we? Erguzi's grandmother continued to argue. Before Su Qingli could respond, Secretary Lee spoke. What do you mean why? Your son threw the first blow and injured someone. If the doctor confirms Changsun has a concussion, you must cover all medical bills, follow-up treatment, and nutritional expenses. He was annoyed. Zhang Shuzhen had married such a troublesome woman, who raised a son just as unreasonable, and his daughter-in-law and grandson were no better. The whole family was difficult to reason with. The Zhangs had come hoping to extort money. They had no intention of paying for anyone's treatment. Wu Chuanxia quickly interjected. We won't go to the hospital. Let's drop the matter. She knew her son fought recklessly. If he really had caused a concussion, they could never afford the compensation. Su Qingli let out a cold huff. You can refuse to go, but we are still going. Changsun says his head hurts more and more. Gu Changsun put on a convincing act, leaning against Su Qingli and constantly complaining of pain. For a moment, Su Qingli almost believed he was genuinely hurt. Go if you want. We will not give you a single cent. Erguzi's grandmother scrambled to her feet and stormed out of the house. Zhang Chang and Wu Chuanxia followed soon after. Secretary Li sighed. I was dragged out over such a trivial matter, it was true. Children in the village often fought, most making up by afternoon. Hardly anyone dragged the village secretary into sibling and neighbor squabbles the way the Zhang family did. With the dispute temporarily set aside, Secretary Li prepared to head home. Su Qingli hurried after him with a cloth package. Uncle Li, thank you for rushing over late at night. These are sticky rice cakes, fried cakes, and salted duck eggs I made myself. Please take them home for your children. Secretary Li raised his eyebrows. After a few polite refusals, he accepted the gift. He thought Su Qingli was a thoughtful young woman. It had been a cold, uncomfortable trip out in the freezing weather. After seeing Secretary Li off, Uncle Gu and his family also headed home. What a farce the whole incident had been. The Zhang family spent 5 eggs to invite Secretary Li over. Su Qingli gave Secretary Li 12 sticky rice cakes, 5 fried cakes, and 5 salted duck eggs. Both sides of the fighting families ended up out of pocket. As for Secretary Li, he had gained gifts from both parties. He came out ahead in every way.